Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for Alpha League's third podcast. And so today we're not going to be playing any games, we're not going to be doing any painting streams, we're going to be just podcasting, okay? We're going to be talking about the competitive and Alpha League results. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, meta, missions and maps, all that. I'm going to be joined here by the very sizable group. And so we're going to get into that in just a moment. Hello there. Yes, boys. We've got stat sheets, we got spreadsheets, we got charts, we got all that good stuff. Of course, you'll be able to ask any questions at any point of the stream, and we will try to answer and engage with you guys. So, if you guys got any of that going on, just leave that in the chat there for us, and we will get to you. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the podcast. Mostly Alpha League. Okay, guys. Yeah. So I just want to get the introductions out of the way. We can go ahead and start with from the top.
All right, this is Eldar, your resident judge and caster. Happy to be back.
Hey guys, Alrock here, as usual. TO for Alpha League. Yeah, great to be here again. I am absolutely exhausted this week, but I just had a cup of coffee and let's.
Hello, it's Jocko here. You could have seen me playing on the stream this Friday, and it's good to see you guys again.
Right, I'm sorry. And I am Malice. If you guys didn't catch that, I am Malice. I do the server organization and oversight for Alpha League.
Howdy, I'm Rollo, another player in Alpha League. Just here to chat Warhammer.
All right, really fantastic. Thank you guys for joining me today, by the way, taking the time. All right, so I just kind of wanted to talk about a little bit about the stream, Alpha streams, right? What are your thoughts? Share ideas with me on what you guys think about the Alpha streams and how it's going on that part.
I keep missing them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've been working like that much. I mean, like check out a couple of VODs like now and then, but I keep missing them. So no comment.
I'm too busy either doing work or playing games. And I was like, oh, there was a stream. Darn.
Yeah, I know that the time is a little bit weird, right? But I think 5 p.m. and considering a majority of our audience is from America, I looked at the analytics, and yeah, most people in the server are actually indeed American. And so I thought that was probably the best time, and it works really good for me, and it looks like it works for the other casters as well.
Yeah, it's 5 p.m. Eastern, right?
Yeah, 5 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. UTC.
Yeah, so it always catches me at that weird time, like right when work finishes, because I'm in Central. So it's...
Well,
what do you think, Joko?
It kind of works for me as well because I usually work night shifts during the weekdays, so I'm already awake at this time, so it works for me as well. So yeah.
Chat says volume checks would be nice.
Yeah. Well, it's not perfect, right? It's, we've got a whole bunch of people here, and we're all from across the world. It's all like a universal thing. and so we'll have growing pains like that. But what about you, Aladaris? How do you feel the Alpha League streams are going?
I think it's been getting pretty good viewers. Been exciting, of course. I do understand if some people think they might drag on a little bit since the games do go quite long, but overall, I think it's been excellent so far.
Generally speaking, like for me, it's been actually pretty fun. I find myself getting really invested into the games, and even though they do tend to take like 5 hours of the stream time and whatnot, I still feel like it's interesting enough. Like games in 9th edition are so much more interesting to watch, in my opinion. It's not just about who tables who; it's about more of the thinking and the strategies that are involved, primaries and secondary objectives. And so
there's much more in terms of like sacrificing your own units. Killing matters much less. It's where on the board are you? What objectives can you hold? Can you deny things just for one turn and then have to throw your unit away? Because honestly, 8th was all about ITC to 9 kills, maximizing kills. 9th, there is no such thing really. It's just you can get some extra secondary points, but primaries are just so much more important. And the more units you have to throw away, I think, and just sit on objectives, the better you do. So it's a very nice contrast. Very different gameplay style.
absolutely. And like when it comes to like actually putting commentary on that, it's so much easier, right? Because we're finding less and less about okay, well, he got all this, he brought all this, and so this is gonna absolutely annihilate the opponent in the first turn. Whoever rolls the dice on the to decide who goes first is the winner. It's not really about that anymore, and commentary is so much easier for that.
I kind of agree, but I don't really agree on the going first. Like, going first, even in 9th edition, is pretty huge. Like, almost every time you want to go first, unless you play something like either against something really specific or with something really specific that can benefit from going second.
The only time where I'd say going first mattered less was the attacker defender, where it's like, okay, I know I'm going second. I'm going to purposefully hide all my stuff. Like, without that, the going first is still a very huge boon.
Yeah, I think there are definitely some balance issues that the GT presents in terms of going first, going second, and what lists are being brought, but people adapt to that metagame. It is concerning. There is going to be a pretty large disparity in win rates, I believe, for first versus second, and we might examine and evaluate that as the season or as the game goes on, and really we'll need to see what happens because the game is still very young and still developing. Not a lot of codexes are out, so we're using outdated codexes. So interested to see what will happen.
I've seen a lot of games. I'm sorry.
Sorry, this is more like you were just touching on like timing, like of them taking like 5 hours. This is more like you're at the placements department, but there is actually like a rule in the primer that says that if one player requests a chess clock, that it has to be used. We could actually edit that to say if you're having your game streamed as well, you have to use a chess clock.
That's true.
For 2 hours. I think that's more than enough time. Like honestly, and that way you know that the stream is going to take like 4 hours maximum, like playtime.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that. Like using chess clocks, although I do worry about some certain instances when players tend to opt out of that because they don't want the pressure of chess clocks. But as we go, I know that you've expressed already that after a point of time, there will actually be it will be absolutely a requirement to use chess clocks. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know. I think that I think for the streams, right? I think that people who are joining and letting us stream them are getting really good opportunities to build up, their reputation. Would you agree with that?
Without a doubt. If you're getting seen by a couple dozen people, well, like, hey, they know who you is.
Yeah, like if you ever think, like if you think about like John Lennon and Richard Siegler, like, you know, these are people that were on top of like streams, that were being streamed, they were being featured, like they were on podcasts, like they built up that rep by getting onto platforms just like this.
Oh yeah, hands down.
I mean, I like wouldn't have discovered who I dub as like probably the best Harlequins TTS player if it wasn't for catching him on a stream in another tournament. So yeah, definitely an outlet for that.
So yeah, I definitely think that, like, if you're looking to build up that rep, and or building in general, like, you know, you should be on these streams on 100%. I guess that kind of brings us to the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about, and I really have been talking about this a little bit more and more. Like people who actually join in on the stream, even people who aren't even really chatting and are just inside the stream and watching. I really want to cement just how important those people are in helping us build up what we're trying to do here, and in turn support the community. Like, if you're in here right now just watching us, you're helping expose our community, and you're helping people discover us. You're helping new players, new modelers, new map makers, new people coming in. Like, you are actually helping in a lot of senses there, and I don't know if anybody would agree on that, but I definitely want to thank everybody. Like, I have a 100%, 110% appreciation for people who are in here with us. And even if you're not in the live streams, like just checking out the YouTubes, like you guys said that you missed the alpha games and all that stuff. Well, you actually know that we do have a YouTube, and we're uploading all those VODs. And so if you guys wanted to catch that, just to check it out, you could just go to our YouTube and see all the games that we've streamed. But okay, I guess we'll go right ahead into the group results. I think that's what everybody's here for and wants to talk about.
All right.
You can bring up the tournament UI at this point if you want to.
Absolutely. We'll bring up the tournament UI for you guys to take a look at that. Here we go. Where do we even begin?
One's always a good place to start. Joker, why are you doing well?
I am playing my most favored matchups first. That's why.
Oh wow, you're barely winning these.
Yeah.
Joko, I feel like Joko should have lost the last game he played, but just because he's such a good player, he won that one. Like, against Salamanders.
Oh, right, got you, yeah.
That was an epic game.
Possible, right? Against Hustle, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
446 score.
That was a really hard matchup. Like, oh. I had to work my ass off for that win. But I actually had to work my ass off for all 3 wins, basically. All of my matchups were really hard.
I think, yeah, that's the problem, or one of the things you have to do when you're playing armies that have these throwaway units that just want to sit on objectives, get shut off, contest objectives. You need to work very hard.
Oh yeah. Fucking.
This list looks somewhat. I'm looking at the Salamanders list right now. This list looks somewhat familiar. I've seen this list before, that's for sure.
Yeah, Joko, you're barely edging it out. I'm curious how those last 2 games are gonna go for you.
Group 1's really interesting, actually. There's like, okay, so everyone was like still hyped for SM, like going into ninth ed, saying like the strongest faction. Oddly, in Group 1, I think there's one Space Marine list, if I'm not mistaken.
Is there a way to slow down the UI so it stays on the group that we're talking about?
Nah. It just keeps going like that. But I will actually link the URL for the tournament, so if anybody wants to actually look at that, they'll have access. Let's see, very least. Results. Yeah, no, I mean, I was, we were casting that game. Aladaris and Flosun, who, by the way, are really, really good at doing the commentary. Like, I'm so glad that that Flosun is going to be actually joining us on that. I know. I talked to a rover about it, and like, there was like a previous conversation, but I'm absolutely glad that Flosun's going to be joining us on that. Dude, that was an intense game, and
I rewatched it for the commentator, and you guys did a great job commentating it. Like, you were questioning my choices on why did I drop those Zephyrium there.
mhm.
Actually, that's a mistake on my part because I misremembered one of his stratagems.
It was
Sometimes the casters just get stuff wrong. It was like the last time I played a game on Alpha Stream. I was running a Warlock Conclave, and I zoomed out the board turn 1 to get in Kiri's face, and the people streaming the game were like, "Why has he done that?" And then I kind of had to explain, like, afterwards, it was to keep him back in his deployment zone with all his Raven Wing, and it actually won me the game.
I think that's sort of the part of the fun, though, right? Like having, like, commentators be like, okay, I'd like to see him do this, and why is he doing this? And it just kind of adds that element of what's going on. And then that's where the post-game discussion comes in, right? Where you're like, right, I did it because of this, and then everybody's more wiser, right? So it balances itself out there. But when we have games like that where it's like highly competitive, and there's so many game deciding moves that need to be made, it's on the edge of your seats kind of content, even though it's people rolling dice and moving miniatures, right? So I would love to see more games like that.
It's kind of weird because obviously I watch a lot of like CS:GO and League of Legends, like really high end like esports, but it can get just as intense in a game of 40k. Like from some of the matches I watched, like on both Alpha in the past and other various like tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, if you gotta check out that VOD, dude. I could pull up a clip. I've got a few clips that I made there. Some of the.
Joker doesn't want it, so I want it because he's still playing Eldar. So do it.
I'll pull up some clips here so that we can look at that really quick. Where did I post those clips? I have them somewhere. We'll put this
We saw the setup. It is not
so that the people can watch this too here.
Forgive me, there is a second Space Marine list in Group 1. It's large, obviously, as well.
the entire backfield. So Apostle is capitalizing on that and has grabbed that small section for the Eradicators. Well done.
Oh, here comes the aggressors.
Which part is this? Oh, yeah.
Doubling up that section.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Look at this.
What does this mean? Okay, no, I think this is where he needs to deploy. Everything else is screened out.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. What about on this side of the board? Does he deep strike something there? So we're asking questions, and we're kind of bringing that excitement. Here's another one where Joko makes some godly saves.
It is not the entire backfield.
He seems to have a knack for that.
Apostle is capitalizing on that.
You know, the other luck.
Grab that small section for the
This
Eradicators.
is the same one.
Oh, this is the same one. Jeep. Here comes the aggressors. I must have put it in the alpha chat.
Seraphim. Because if the creature
Remember
dies,
this.
I'm no longer in combat and I can shoot the Seraphim.
Come on, baby, you can make this many 4-ups.
Oh!
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god, yeah. What was this on, by the way? Is this the unit in the
Oh my god.
That was the Preacher on 1 wound.
The preacher.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
It was a 4-up save, right? It was a 4-up
Okay,
save.
I don't even have a reaction.
It was a 4-up
Jesus.
save, and he couldn't fire his blast
now
weapons
those
because of
blast
that.
weapons can't shoot.
So we got moments like that, right? I want to get more of that going for our games. Just really exciting things like that. And that is a Flow Sun, Aladaris, and me special right there. We'll put the rankings back on here. Sorry. I know I was detracting a little bit, but I wanted to bring up those highlights really quick.
That was great. I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. Need more of those kind of things.
God damn.
So okay, so Joko's doing great. What else do we have? What else is what do we bring up the spreadsheet for the win-loss rates for Imperium?
Yeah, that's
Oh, I'm
good.
sorry, not Imperium, but the factions. Yeah. Okay,
Just gonna touch one group and then go straight to the spread. All right.
here we go. By the way, shout out to Joko for making this in such short notice. So we have here Imperium, right? Well, I guess we'll start with Imperium. And I need to go ahead and tell you guys that this is not with Space Marines. Imperium is its own listing here. Space Marines is its own. So this is Imperium, which is like all the non-Space Marine factions.
There is just so many Space Marine like chapters and lists that they deserve their own separate parts. So they are heretics.
Yeah, so we'll go over them one by one, but first up is the discussion on this core Imperium. So Sisters, Imperial Fists, so Custodes, Knights, Imperial Guard, and like all that stuff in one list. Custodes Soup, which is one part Custodes, one part another, usually Guard. Pure Custodes, AdMech, Imperial Knights, and Imperial Guard. So overall, Imperium is doing pretty well, sitting near 60% win rate. Imperium is by far one of the most popular factions, especially when you add Space Marines to that number, which we currently are. But definitely excited to see them doing well, and let's discuss why do you think these lists are doing, especially Sisters and Soup are doing so well in particular.
Sisters, because they have cheap troops that are basically a toughness free Space Marine with either an evil save or a field no pain, and ignoring AP -1 as well, and -2 in certain circumstances. Makes them really hard to shift from midboard. They still have the best tank right now in 9th edition.
They also have so many units on the board. There's so many of them that are this durable.
I think that Sisters seem to be really good. But you know what? Like, I'm gonna reference once again Joko's game. I feel like Space Marines counters Sisters. I feel like they just have what they need to actually deal with what makes Sisters so good, especially with the faction chapter tactic, Valara's Heart, where they're able to actually ignore the AP -1 and AP -2. Like we saw that.
I want to say that's a coin toss, honestly, because the opposite. Sometimes Sisters completely shut down Space Marines who have a lot of AP -1, AP -2, and it's like, I ignore that. Have fun, and I'm in cover, so your AP means nothing. And it's like only
Space
some
Marine...
guns are actually gonna break through.
Okay, you would be right, but we have a ruling that the doctrines basically go through the Valor's Heart.
I thought the opposite was ruled.
No, sadly it was ruled that way. So it's changes first, improvements later. So because the doctrine is an improvement, that's why it's going to have Sisters are going to have at best 4-up save against Space Marines in turn 2 and 3, and that's where the Space Marine player can deal a lot of damage, and it's hard to actually recover from that. But that's only Valor's Heart Sisters. They're the best, probably, but I feel like they have a really unfavorable matchup against Space Marines, against everything else, maybe except Tau. I don't think Tau is also favorable, but against everything else, they are quite good. Like they have the numbers, they have the obsec troops, durable obsec troops, with like basically 3 up save against most things. Yeah, and they can pick a punch.
Okay, so I hate to bring this back up again about that ruling, but I interpreted it as the complete opposite, where if you have an AP -2 weapon that's made AP -3 by doctrines, it's only gonna ignore 1 AP on the sister. No?
Well, it's
No.
a timing, isn't it?
So the way the ruling has worked is replacements first, modifiers second, no matter what. So if you have an AP2 weapon that's increased by 1, the AP2 is reduced to 0, AP1 applies afterwards, you get the full benefit. Great. If you have an AP0 weapon affected by a doctrine, your 0 base AP is reduced to 0, nothing changes, and the doctrine still applies afterwards. It's still at -1. So it widens the usage of Valor's Heart in some circumstances and narrows it down in others.
And really, it's just against Space Marines.
We spent a long time talking about this.
I know, and it's just like, oh god, I'm confused again.
Well, it makes sense, right? Like it's based on that very first sentence he started with. There is that you have your what was the modifiers before the
Replacements before modifiers.
Replacements before modifiers. So I think that while not probably intended, right? That's how it's worded. That's how I think that yeah. I understand it.
You're really nice on this from GW from the GW, because like it leaves a lot of salt in every, like someone's mouth one way or the other. Anyway, so an official ruling would be really good on this, but yeah, let's not talk about this because it's just going to start a shitstorm.
I think it's more like
decided. The judge team had a very long discussion on this, so let's move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Away from
I
this.
can go to 8th edition examples, but there's no point because that's 8th edition, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just bury the hatchet. Been ruled that way, done and dusted.
That's true. Sometimes we just have to, no matter what we think, that's the ruling. That's what we have to abide and respect by. So okay, other than sisters, anything else notable here? Custodes, Soup, still doing relatively well. We saw them in the first week; they were pretty much undefeated, and now they're getting some losses in there.
Yeah, so I think there's a very clear distinction between Custodes Soup and Custodes Pure. Pure Custodes, in general, have the same strengths. They're hard to shift off of objectives, but their weaknesses are much more profound in that they're very slow, and their shooting units can be quite thin and scarce and fragile. So it's unsurprising to see Pure Custodes with a negative win rate. It's just much harder to actually move around the board because they're so slow and you're going to get outshot. So glad to see that the Soup is doing well, but interesting that Pure is doing so poorly.
Pure Custodes is kind of like when their like PA came out and then they became really strong in 9th. People kind of learned to play around their one-trick pony, which was the Allura Bomb coming down with Vexilla. So people kind of learned like, okay, you're gonna come down and target like one of my important characters and kill it. If I've got a transport, and quite a few armies do, cool. That important character will be in transport, or I'll use dense cover to give you like a -1 to hit on my important character, and you might not kill him. And the other thing you can do is obviously just kill the Vexilla, and that just completely neuters that plan completely. We saw that. Well, I saw that recently in a Telltale Titans game, where Adrian killed the Vexilla, and then the Allura Bomb literally did nothing at all. And if you've got a way to kill that Vexilla, and especially considering it normally just has like a Talon and Dreadnought bodyguarding for it, so if you can just find a way to remove that Vexilla, that's 90% of their game plan sort of gone for Custodes, because you're relying on that crutch of that one play to work. So it's kind of like when you go out to 8th edition, when you used to see these one-trick lists that were relying on like a gimmick in order to get them the win. And if you can remove that gimmick, they become useless. That's kind of how I feel with these mono Custode armies right now.
Yeah, I think you're spot on that one. I mean, yesterday we casted a game. It was mono Custodes versus Space Wolves, And we saw that Alara's bomb get dropped right onto a Wolfen squad. Wolfens just basically came in and almost just cut that down. So it's like, you get these really interesting situations based on what your opponent brings that can actually crap on some of those strategies. And then you're in this awkward position as the Custodes where you're like, okay, well, that was how many points? And now I have all this left, and I have so much board left that I have to contest, and I can definitely see, and that's crazy because I thought that Custodes were going to be top of the crop for 9th, but it's the Custodes soup that's doing well.
Yeah, because I feel like your Custodes just don't have the amount of troop required to spread around the board and with them. Like, yesterday's game was a perfect example for it. He had to leave one of his troop units behind to just stay on the objective and sit on the objective, and you don't want like a 200-point unit just staying back and sitting on objective and just don't do anything the whole game.
That's true. All right, well, I guess we can kind of move on from the Custodes and the soup. Custodes soup, very good. Custodes mono, obviously going to have some problems with this meta. I like to call it the objective meta. Admech at a 50% win rate, or 50% loss, depending on how you're looking at it. What do you guys think about that?
They've certainly been doing better in the second week, 4-3 instead of 6-6. But I think Admech still got a lot of utility. You've got good shooting, you've got some great troop and fast attack choices. It can be still very fragile, and so you need to be very careful on where you want to place your objective securing units. Since they're mostly T3, they can easily get shot off the board, and it's very, you can't just afford to sit back with all of your stuff and expect to shoot the enemy to death.
Yeah.
So it's really the fast attack and troops that really make or break the Admech player's game plan, I feel.
I feel like Admech really has to go first to have a chance at winning. They feel like a really alpha strike list most of the time that just has to go first in order to win.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Like, yeah, most of these Admech lists are basically the 8th edition castle style lists where they bring a really good amount of firepower, right? But it's just parked in deployment zones, right? It's not actually moving anywhere. But
I still think the majority of lists I'm seeing are Iron Striders mixed with Cataphrons, which on paper is perfect for 9th. You've got high mobility and then high toughness infantry.
The thing about that is the saves are generally quite poor, and a lot of people are actually opting to run low AP weapons, which was great in 8th when you had a bunch of armies running out with lots of models with relatively low save, relying on invulns. That's not so much the case in 9th when you actually have a lot of vehicles, a lot of good saves. So Admech's weapons are mostly AP-1, AP-2, and that falls flat, honestly. It's quite difficult to kill a lot of the things you want against 2-up, 3-up saves, and so the weapon profiles are difficult because another thing is matchups. One of Admech's best matchups before was against Eldar, Tau, and the like, and now those aren't as common, so you'll see them struggle a bit versus these other lists with better saves.
I think Melted Wing. Sorry, Joko, go ahead.
Just one more thing about Admech. They have to castle up, and they can't really spread out on the board to take objectives because they have so many good aura abilities that they want to be a castle and want to be in a one spot. They just can go around the board and be in like small groups that can hold all 6 objectives on the board.
Yeah, and I think that Melted Wing brings a very good point. You know, when we're actually sitting here and looking at our rosters, are we like building around, you know, killing units, or are we building around the actual game, which we can say now for sure that it is heavily objective based. Like tabling your opponent is not going to be a super important factor. It's about getting those objectives, getting those primaries and secondaries. And so when you're building your list, are you accounting for that?
I think one of the issues with AdMech right now is that no one's figured out like the list for AdMech. Like you want Cole because reroll failed hits is fantastic, and then you can get like the I believe it's. The thing is with AdMech is they're kind of weird. I still kind of don't 100% understand how they play, but I see a lot of this with Cole. I think robots are super good for them, but other than and cataphracts and destroyers are useful, but they can get tagged like really easily. And because they're not a vehicle, they can't shoot. I think it might be a vehicle. I might be wrong on that.
No, they're infantry.
They're infantry, right? Yeah, exactly. So it's really easy to tag them on like a smaller board. You won't kill them because they're like the 2-up save and like 3 or 4 wounds a pop. But you can just throw in like say for example you're playing Eldar, you just charge some Dire Avengers in, just attack them for a couple of turns. But yeah, I guess that's my point. I don't think anyone's figured out like the list for AdMech because they got some really weird, like interesting point changes going into 9, which made them quite difficult to kind of build a list around.
Yeah, and another thing is the shift towards Mars being the more popular faction. Prior to 9th, the most popular by far was Styges, just due to the raw durability bonus it gave you. Now, due to the introduction of Cerberus Raiders and a bunch of other ways to just generate mortal wounds, Mars has become the go-to faction, but at the same time, you are sacrificing that durability of Styges for more damage. And you need to ask yourself, is that really what AdMech needs, or is it protection and the ability to sit on objectives without getting everything shot off the board?
I feel like I'm in Bizarro land because I have seen the exact opposite. I am not seeing Mars running Call and Castellans anymore. Like, very quickly, people looked at the maps, people played a game or two, and were like, that doesn't work. I am seeing a lot more Styges. I'm seeing a lot more Iron Striders and Cataphrons. Castellans are getting phased out big time just because you can't castle anymore, and lanes of fire are very highly reduced for them. And
I agree. The other thing with Castellan robots is they went up in points massively. They got a huge points reduction due to probably some typos at the end of 8th, but now they're just prohibitively expensive.
That's what it is. The phosphor blasters got points values.
The last kind of like the guys that you don't like 3 stratagems on, right? To just blow up anything.
Only like 2 really, and if Call's there, only like 1. But it costs 2 CP.
So yeah, so again, if you don't get first turn, your opponent's just going to kill that unit. I'm guessing you run them as 6 as well, so at that point blast is becoming a thing, and like your coherency for them is becoming a thing as well, which are really big factors, like in 9th edition to consider as well. So I think I caught part of a game. It was Faith versus someone playing AdMech, whose name I can't remember unfortunately, and I just kind of saw that like turn 1, like the 3 like tank commanders just went into them and removed like half the unit like right off the bat, and he had some really bad rolls as well.
Okay,
but yeah, so sorry.
I just checked. There is 5 Mars list and 3 Styges list in the tournament. I feel like Styges is not that good in 9th because there is a bunch of stuff already giving -1 to hit rolls. And I think that makes the Styges trait a lot less desirable.
The other one is the scout movement at the start of the game. That helps them out quite a bit. For 2 CP. It's another reason people are taking Styges. Is there not people running like Rad Saturated Forge World, anything like that? Like not running the Psychic Awakening things?
Yes, Styges.
I'm not aware.
Someone ran a practice match with a Rad Saturated. That's surprising to me. Because they have some good traits.
Well, I don't know, but a 50% win rate in the new week here, and 57% in last week. I mean, I guess that's not bad, right? Like, I don't know.
No, they're doing pretty well, I think. Definitely, they need to find a way to sit on the map. but overall, army is still strong. It has great units, good stratagems. So
I
you
think,
can't
yeah,
complain too much.
and as what Aladars was saying there, I think it's really a matter of figuring out, right, the list configuration. I think that's once people play it some more and what they understand is going to perform very well. What's most optimized there, I think we'll see a considerable adjustment in that win rate. But I guess we can kind of move on. We've been talking with AdMech there. But I think a lot of people are kind of looking forward to what AdMech, how they performed. But we've got Imperial Knights here, who did
Imperial Knights, not soup anything. So
Nope.
yeah,
Yep.
That is just pure Knights. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they're at the 0% win rate in the first week so far, and then they actually bumped up to a 50% win rate here.
Oh, what isn't it the other? Wait, is that? Oh, yeah. It's used to be 0, now it's 50.
There's two Knights, right? Or is it just one?
That's a good question. We don't have that.
Because I
Off the
know
top
of
of
the
my head.
Arminger list.
there is two of them.
There's two of them? Okay. Oh.
Yeah, the thing with knights, you lose one knight and you lose a quarter of the map. You give up secondaries. You don't really have any secondaries of your own to take. Just very poor in terms of what you can score. That being said, if this was still previous edition ITC, knights point changes have not been terrible. Still perfectly fine in terms of how killy they are and how much firepower they can take in return. But scoring just really does not favor them. So not really surprised to see them do not well.
I'm surprised there's not more Castellans out there. They got like 100 points drop from 8th to 9th.
Also, there is like, I think Knights actually have the lowest match amount, so we can't really go with this data too much.
That's true.
4 matches, 2 wins, 2 losses. Yeah, it could be. Like, there is a lot of variables here.
But then again, that's 4 out of 10 games.
Well, I mean, if you guys want to draw it up to not enough sample games here, that's fine. If you think it's just because they're not very well suited for the meta, that I also think. I don't know if there's actually. Are there any knight players in chat? Does anybody actually care about knights?
I actually really do enjoy Knights. And there's a Knight list I'm dying to try out, but I haven't gotten the opportunity really.
Burst and Tau.
I mean, I could think of a few secondaries you would take, like yeah, like you lose one of those knights, then it's not going to be very good.
There's some
then
lists that we
again,
can't deal with knights, right? So
Yeah.
like, right now, like everyone's like expecting to deal with like elite infantry. So you're looking at like strength 5, strength 6 weaponries with like high APs. You know, so at that point you're winning knights on 5 and have to chew through a 4 pinball, and these weapons tend to be like 2 damage, which is basically chip damage to a knight. But you're going to come across other matchups where like someone's going to have like
3 Hellforged Contemptors with quad
exactly.
cannons.
Exactly, or 2 units of like Skyweavers. You know, where a knight's just going to drop like a turn.
Well, yeah, this is mono knights, right? So there could actually be some lists that are souping the knights in there, right? That could be.
Definitely.
Exactly. And of course, something I'm curious that hasn't been tried is if someone runs a knight list souped with guard to grab objectives or something like that.
Or
that's what I have, and I want to test that out and see how that performs.
or knights souped with like Gilliman or something really.
Oh god, no! That is early 8th, and I don't want to go back to that.
Oh, no,
I know. I physically had a person at my store that did that, and it was the worst thing ever. Oh, it was the worst.
Well, I mean, Gilliman soup lists are pretty scary, aren't they?
But yeah, like 2 Dominuses, a Gallant, and Gilliman. It was just like, it was. Oh my god.
Because now it's like you take Gilliman as a detachment, and you get all the. Well, I guess you got to bring like combat at the very least. But what were you gonna say?
If I remember correctly, most of the Imperium soup matches has a few knights in it. Those are knight soups. Like half of them should be dead.
Ooh. So maybe Knights aren't doing as bad as we thought. But definitely Mono Knights are harder to deal.
Points-wise, Knights didn't really get touched that much at all. Like, several of the Knights got points decreases. Some Knights got points increases here and there. Namely, you look at the Wardens and the Paladins and the Questores class, but like they're minor increases. From 8th to 9th, it's a lot easier to make the Knight list that you want within points. The Forge World Knights didn't get touched at all. And they're still pretty decent.
Yeah, Knights are powerful, but they can't score, and folds them back. You'd
have to definitely soup them with something else then.
They just lose some points.
Yeah, unless you're running nothing but Armingers and maybe one Questoris or one bigger Knight. But like, I am curious how that would work if you're running like one big Knight and then just a bunch of Armingers to support, but I don't know. It would have to be done correctly, of course. You can't just run all Morax or all Warglaves.
I thought it was pretty interesting how you brought up the Castellan again, who got a point reduction that you said.
Yeah, I think the Castellan's a very good unit right now. You just run out of Raven Order Companions, you have extra CP, based off of how you want to build the list. The thing is, terrain is also very big. Obscuring terrain completely shafts what Knights can do. They don't benefit from it. They don't benefit from dense terrain either. And they are still bound by all the restrictions. So very difficult for them to actually do things on the board.
Do they not benefit from obscuring?
No. Anything 18 wounds or higher does not benefit from dense or obscuring terrain.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, like, I've got a melee Knight list that I really
And
want.
they can't see over it either, right? Where they can't draw line of sight.
See over obscuring.
Which is the worst.
I mean...
Oh, not obscuring, I meant dense. Do they not benefit from dense?
They do not.
Okay.
Well, that's
4
interesting.
Morax with 2 Gallants souped with some nerd. Okay, Chaos Knights is a different discussion entirely.
We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. And but yeah, like, and you know, just it's that I feel like Castellan too. One of the biggest why it was so powerful was that 3-up invuln, rotate Iron Shields, and then the fact that it was 8th edition, right? We didn't have these obscuring terrain pieces. They could actually turn one, kill another Knight, and that was the meta at the time. I don't know. I feel like the reign of Castellans is over. I think.
Yeah, other things I've heard as well. Smaller map, you have less ways to abuse the huge range on it. Melee has much easier time getting in, and it still dies just as easily in melee. So
that's another good point.
Pros and cons.
That's another good point is the fact that the base is so big and these maps are very constraining. You can't just walk over things. We've seen Gorkanauts just get shut down in movement because of just the constraints on the map. What were you gonna say?
Daniel Luna, what you said about souping Knights costs a lot of CP. If the Knight detachment is your main detachment, it's honestly not that much. I've got a fully kitted out Knight list with a patrol souped, and I still come in with 8 CP. And if you're not running the Castellan, the odds are you're not going to eat 6 CP on one model immediately. The only other heavy CP is, of course, full tilt, but that's only 4 compared to the 3 CP stratagems you're using on shooting Knights.
Competitive wargaming, have you considered bringing Gilliman?
Stop it.
All right.
Yeah, that's a 4 model list you're asking him to build right there.
Okay, I'm stopped. My ignorant pro-analysis. Let's go ahead and talk about Mono Imperial Guard then.
So this really shouldn't be too much of a surprise. No invulns versus all the Space Marines with spamming Meltas, spamming melee. Guard is in a rough spot at the moment.
Honestly, I'm surprised.
I'm actually a little surprised. I think like Guard actually have some really good plays that they can do, because Bulgrin are still, even though they're a bit more expensive now, they're still super hard to shift. Like -1 to hit, +1 save from psychic powers. So I'm surprised people aren't running Bulgrin as much. Also, like masked chimeras with dual heavy flamer and guardsmen inside of them, running like 5 or 6 of those. Like, getting those up mid-board, okay, you're tagging combat and you don't really do a lot. But once your transports pop, and they will pop, don't get me wrong, but you're holding that primary with so many bodies, that is insane. I'm actually really surprised by this. I actually thought Guard would be a lot higher up there.
I know, right? Me too.
I'm completely with you there. Completely. I think still too many people are trying to run the artillery spam, which has never been that great. Like, run Hellhounds, run Devil Dogs, run Chimeras, get all these infantry up the board, like, run these lower tier tanks, and like, I think they could do amazing. Still have some backup support. I'd say it doesn't hurt to have 2 Wyverns or a Manticore, but that surprises me that they're not doing that well.
I think Valhallan conscript spam or Mordian infantry spam, these unconventional lists that just dump bodies on the board, your shooting is not going to be great. There's too much guns cover, too many penalties to hit. Artillery lists are still very much dependent on tank commanders. If those die, you're shafted in what you can kill. So I would go full infantry, get your company commanders, move up the board, sit on objectives with huge amounts of bodies that are fearless. You can, if you don't want to run Valhallan for buffed up morale, which you can use the Relic Pietrov's MK45, I believe it's called, for a super summary execution. You can only use 1 model to morale per round, and you can just be very hard to shift off of primaries.
Even then, the new morale system honestly benefits you more.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm surprised you're not seeing the Mega Balls where you spend 1 CP mixture, because you can bring in these 10-man squads with a heavy weapon, special weapon, take the morale losses, and then just recapture these orphan special weapons into your other squads and just keep steamrolling and rolling, because it's very, if you bring enough bodies, it can be very hard to dislodge. And of course, you're running chimeras. Like, I'm genuinely surprised.
I'm surprised we don't see more Hellhammers. I think that tank's amazing in that condition. It's got, especially when you run it with, like, I think it's the
Hellhammer is the Baneblade variant, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard of it.
The flat 3 damage gun on it, and
Is that the half movement? Is it the half movement gun?
Yeah, exactly. It's half movement and it's flat damage free.
Yeah,
and tank in 9th edition as a super
it
heavy.
has a firing deck, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good in 9th. Like, you just sit on your back objective and you just start blowing things up. And if your opponent wants to, like, target that and kill it in turn, don't get me wrong, they can. If they want to kill it in turn, they'll kill it in turn. But they're not then dealing with, like, your 5 or 6 chimeras that are, like, on the mid board at that point for, like, a turn or 2. I think that thing is brutal in 9th edition. Like, it does so much, especially being, like, flat 3 damage as well.
What was the variant that ignored a line of sight? Was there ever a variant?
Sorry, that is the Hellhammer. Yeah, the Hellhammer ignores. No, wait, no. I'm getting confused. I know it's flat 3 damage, and I think you might be right. I think it might be Harvest Movement or something. I'll go check it.
Because there's like 9 different Baneblade variants, of course.
Yeah, where's that chart at?
I don't know. Especially, I think it suffers from the same problem as the Castellan in that obscuring and terrain is going to drop you harshly. You know,
no
obsec. See the triple Shadow Sword list anymore. It's not going to happen. Also,
yeah, that's Gen's special there. 3 Baneblade special right there. But yeah,
I saw that so much. I saw that so much.
Yeah, and then the fact, you're sacrificing so many points, and you're just gaining, something that's really good at shooting. I mean, that you're gonna need more. You need objective secured. And you need to contest the board. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, like builds I would recommend people trying is Guard with infantry spam. You're running either a bunch of conscripts or more than 1 battalion of infantry squads. You have maybe just a couple of Manticores to knock out dangerous units like aggressors or things with a really high shot count. And then you soup in either Space Marines or Custodes, either for the banner to give all your infantry -1 to hit, or just strong, meaty characters, specifically characters, so they can hide behind your infantry blobs. And for conscripts, leadership doesn't matter if you're Valhallan. You just shoot 1 and no one else runs away.
Yeah, but honestly, at that point, why do you even bring Imperial Guard mono? Just soup them. Just acknowledge that they're good for one thing, and that's filling in detachments and getting the CP. Just
I don't know. I think guard mono could be very prevalent once people figure out how to run them. I'm surprised it's just not seeing lots of devil dogs and chimeras.
I think everyone's just kind of jumped on that silence bandwagon because we saw a lot of silence lists like 2 weeks ago, and like I was saying at the time, silence is a coin flip as to what happens. Because yeah, you're about to come down turn 1, you drop your boys, and it's either they obliterate the enemy like turn 1 and keep them pinned in a deployment zone, or they do nothing, and then they all die. And then that's like a game loss, like right there. Like I said, it's a coin flip list.
I don't know about Scion. I took a look at Scions and I thought about making a Scion list, but it's just like, I don't know, man.
well, the Tempestus Scions were. That's what everybody's playing right now, right? When they're souping.
If they're souping, I think they are playing just normal guards for soup.
It was so. Wait, are these Imperial Guard lists the ones that are bringing the Tempestus Scions? Because I remember that there was a lot of Tempestus Scions being played.
Yeah, it will be alpha, yeah, for sure. This will be a lot of silence. I don't think that's the strongest guard build like right now at all.
I agree.
I think the strongest guard build is your mass sort of like chimera spam, with either like a super heavy, or like tank commanders, because try to get through all those chimeras and then get through the bodies inside, like midboard. And I think Bogrin is still really strong as well.
Something else you could totally do: 60 points on an Inquisitor, leadership 10. That's something else you could totally do.
I think guards actually got the best out of the new moral system, because they don't expect all of their guardsmen to leave, and with the new moral, they are just going to have a few of them stick if you just don't wipe out the squad.
And of course, you can just collect those and throw them into another squad. Like, as guard, you're never really going to be wanting for CP.
Well, you know, this is kind of. Is it just me or this sample size kind of small?
It's small for normal guards. I think there is a lot of.
Yeah, there's not many pure
But if
cards.
it's mostly Tempestus Scion lists, I wouldn't be surprised if that trend continues.
Okay. All right, so I guess we're gonna go to the next. I think everybody is looking forward to this, right? Because everybody loves Space Marines. It's Space Marines. Your favorite.
And I'm glad to see my boys Raven Guard coming out on top. By far my favorite list near the end of 8th. Just all the shenanigans you could do, and nice to see that they're still performing on top in 9th.
Just take a look at these Salamanders.
I hate playing against the Raven Guard. No?
I've beat 2 Raven Guard lists this tournament so far. It's just as horrible, but just as same as last edition, honestly.
Although Eldar, I have to disagree with you though. You said Raven Guard are coming out on top, but yet Space Wolves have a 1%. The chats that I've been rooting for in my top 3, sorry, Legion that I was rooting for, actually have a 1% increase over Raven Guard there.
So yeah, Raven Guard coming out on top there of a performance. They're at the 60. They were at 55% win rate. Now they're at 61.
Am
relatively.
I 61 correct? Because I did forget to log a loss on Raven Guard, so I just added that now. Does the percentage calculate as we change?
Yeah, it calculates automatically. So the 61 is correct.
So that means Imperial Fists are leading that. Although technically Dark Angels are leading that. Ha ha he.
The one Dark Angels.
I want to see him win. I want to see him win. That'd be amazing. For the first.
I'm a little disappointed in seeing the show up for Blood Angels. I will say they were at 0%, and now they're at 25%. Technically an increase, but not. That's brutal.
Weird. I would think they'd be doing better.
I thought that if Space Wolves could be good, then Blood Angels could be good. God, English. Blood Angels could be good as well, right? So, like, it's just kind of brutal for me to see.
Honestly, like Blood Angels more than Space Wolves too.
I like them.
I think it's just Space Wolves have way more utility than Blood Angels. Armor of Rust is a fantastic relic. You've got very deadly melee units. You have the single best melee beatstick character in the game, who's probably Ragnar. But
we saw that.
Overall,
we saw that.
You've got a lot of ways to run up the board instead of just deep striking and hoping you survive.
I am also surprised at how Grey Knights are doing.
6-inch consolidations and pile-ins and heroic interventions with the Wolfen are pretty terrible. If you bring them with the Thunderhammers, we saw them wipe out Alaris, Custodes. Oh man.
Oh yeah, they do that.
Right. So I think the problem with Blood Angels is that they have no way for like the Judicar to sort of keep up. So if you say, for example, you go to like a Mimble objective with a bunch of Death Company and a Judicar, the opponent will just kill the Death Company. But if you do that with say like Wolfen and a Judicar, all of a sudden you've got like 3-up Invul, 5-up Feel No Pain to try and shoot them off the objective. Whereas like Death Company just have like a 3-up save and then a 6-up Feel No Pain. Or if you're doing that with Sanguinian Guard, which you should never do with Sanguinian Guard because they're like a bomb drop. But if you were to do that, again, they're just like a 2-up save, 5-up Feel No Pain. There's no invul on them. So, and the 5-up Feel No Pain you need the special banner for as well. So that's like another like character slot used. So I think that's the difference now between like the two like serious like melee chapters of the Space Marines. I think the Space Wolves have like better kind of options in 9th edition right now than the Blood Angels. I think that will change somewhat when Death Guard become 2 wins.
Yeah, they're.
But we'll need to see what happens when the Codex is dropped. But definitely, if all of that stuff gets doubled, Blood Angels will be very, very happy about it.
I don't know if we even talk about.
Guard getting a wound would be amazing. Yeah. Can't wait for that.
Do we even talk about Iron Hands here? Because like they're doing as well as we thought they were going to. Like I remember talking about them, and they were going to be like.
Not unexpected at all. Like Contemptors, Iron Hands work really well. Contemptors, such a great unit, work really well with Iron Hands doctrines. At the end of the day, Intercessors great for them as well. Getting that Feel No Pain, Bowl with the Apothecary, and everything else that they have. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they're just so durable on the board. You sit them in the middle of the board, they don't die. They hold objectives very well. You can run some dedicated melee units to push other people off of objectives so you can't contest it. Just slightly different, less killy game plan than before due to the changes to doctrines, but still very, very good list.
They're super durable. I played a game earlier today with Iron Hands. 4 Intercessors died. That was it. The rest of my list was fine. Like.
So relatively good chapter to run even despite the nerfs. I guess we could just kind of move on to Imperial Fists. I hope Chapter Master Valric is going to catch this because we're going to start talking about some Imperial Fist here. 80% win rate in this week. 4-1.
Honestly,
good in 9th edition. Who'd have thought it, eh?
Yeah.
They were always like the middle of the pack. Imperial Fist, basically. They were never like on the top, I think. But they were always good.
Yeah, always good. It's only now that they're not outshined by Ultramarines these days, which is still weird. I still think Ultramarines could be amazing, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're showing up pretty well. Like, we thought that Salamanders and Raven Guard and even Iron Hands were going to top it, but look at this Imperial Fist performance coming out. That's pretty impressive.
How many Imperialist lists do we have?
That's a good question.
5 down.
We have. Let's see.
We just have 2 players, so not very popular as far as armies go, but definitely still potent. And honestly, bolters are getting better, so Imperial Fists are just going to get better with the new edition.
Also, it could be just the players. Like, they might be piloted by really good players. And, yeah.
That's why it's so important to get more people coming up in here and playing. 150 players, not enough. We need 300 players.
When you add, like, Thunderfire Cannon to, like, Dents, that becomes horrific. I've been on the receiving end of that before. That's, like, as Death Guard. That's, like, horrible. So, like, you get Tremor Shield. And then you have to move through Dents for -2 as well. it becomes horrible. Like, and Imperial Fist players are going to bring like one Thunder Fire Cannon just for that strat because it's so good.
Yeah, Tremor Shells is still just amazing, especially if they are a slow list naturally. You can completely shut off their movement with 1 or 2 well-placed Tremor Shells.
Yeah, this is relatively blind, so yeah. So Imperial Fists, pretty good, pretty average, mid-pack. Only 2 players playing them so far, but they're doing good. Imperial Fists, all right. Let's talk about Grey Knights. Somebody was... Yeah, like the smite nerfs really had no... I feel like the smites didn't really have much to do with why Grey Knights were so good. It's still the Paladin bomb, isn't it?
I think the smite nerf really hurt them, but because they had like these threats of dropping that troop units, I don't know the names.
Strike squads.
Yeah, strike squads down.
Interceptor squads could be as well.
Basically, and just dealing out like 20 mortal wounds in one psychic phase, and they could never fail it as well.
Don't remember, their Terminators are troops, so they have objects secured, and they're a Terminator. So, you know, 2-up save, you can put all the defensive buffs on them, you can transhuman them, you can make them like -1 to wound. I think it's either a psychic power or a stratagem as well. So, Grey Knight Terminators are amazing. Like, they're so good.
Yeah, and Terminators in general, very, very modest point increases across the board from 8th to 9th. So Terminators are actually quite efficient and quite good models at the moment.
That's why I can't wait for the +1 wound.
Is now good as well, because Nemesis Dread Knights used to have this really weird thing in 8th edition where this Grand Master of the Grey Knights, he suddenly moved and he was -1 to hit. they no longer have that problem, so they're kind of good now as well. And you got to remember that Grey Knights with like obscuring can have like any unit they want, just ignore that with Astral Aim as well.
That's true.
Which is fantastic.
They have so many, like, I don't know. I feel like this does reflect a little bit, right? I think Joko brings a good point that the smite nerfs did influence that, but it wasn't just the smite that made Grey Knights potent. It was all these other psychic powers, and of course, bringing it again, Paladin Bomb. It's still as good as it was before.
No, you don't see Paladins. You just see Terminator instead.
Just Terminators.
Like, yeah, just Terminators.
So 62% win rate in the week 2, and they were at 66 in a relatively modest sample size here. So, yeah, I'm impressed. I hope to see more Grey Knight show up in Alpha. I guess we could talk about Salamanders, which we predicted on many accounts would be the top.
Salamanders, solid list. I like to think of them as Ultramarines plus because they just do everything better than Ultramarines. They fill the same niches and do things like Flamers and Meltas better, but they still lack some flexibility that you might have otherwise in terms of Raven Guard, or they lack the raw durability of Iron Hands. But very good at this, a lot of utility in their stratagems, and Eradicators are such a ridiculous unit. Baseline, giving them +1 to wound is also just makes them kill basically whatever they shoot at. So scary list, but one that can be a little bit inflexible at times.
Also, outflanking really helped them. Like, you can actually have some maneuverability on your aggressors and other stuff.
Yeah, outflanking is definitely a big part of their power. It actually makes units like aggressors for them viable. It gives you ways to hit the backline with Eradicators who really, because of their 24-inch range, don't need it, but still nice. So really rely on the outflank, and when you're playing against Salamanders, just screen out the corners of the map for the outflank and see how the game progresses from there.
Or just allow them to drop in one specific spot and then just get the hell out from there because slow.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Salamanders pretty good. White Scars. They did better this week.
I still think White Scars are pretty good, honestly.
I've always been underwhelmed by White Scars. They Assault Doctrine is just so late for them, so you don't play around their doctrine. You just really play around them being able to move around the map and use spikes, speeders, that type of stuff to try and control the board. Never was really super impressed by that type of playstyle, but hopefully the White Scars players will continue to prove me wrong.
Yeah. I haven't seen him in action, so I'm looking forward to seeing some White Scars play myself. Ultramarines.
It's
boy.
Disappoints me. This Ultramarine players, what are you doing?
Exactly. That was my exact thought. It's like, what are they doing?
I do agree. I think Ultramarines actually did get the short end of the stick in 9th. With vehicles no longer receiving penalties, kind of makes Ultramarines pointless when the other one use is really like aggressors or heavy weapons infantry. You still don't want to run heavy weapons infantry because they're just so expensive, so fragile. Aggressors, Salamanders just do it better. So really, what niche do you have as an Ultramarines player?
Ball back and shoot.
Kill him, man.
Yeah, I kind of thought that like Ultramarines like grab devs in drop pods would be a thing in 9th. Because you get that turn 1 strike, you can do silence Gilman, and then you can do the reroll to wound and damage strat on the unit, and you can just delete something that's like really vital to the enemy's army, and you can just set an objective with a drop pod and the unit. And I'm not a Space Marines player at all, but if I was to play Ultramarines, that'd be the kind of thing I'd sort of toy around with, because I think it'd be a really cool sort of idea, like 3 squads of Devastators with always grab in drop pods, and bring 1 down on turn 1, 1 down on turn 2, 1 down on turn 3, and just pop those strats every time.
Also, like,
God.
Ultramarines are the most tactically flexible chapter. Like, in their gameplay, it shows too. Like, you can run a good mix of units from Ultramarines and have everything you need to deal with ideally anything you should go up against. And I'm shocked at 1-6. I want to know what those lists are doing.
I think there was like a theory that we were talking about last week that the only people that are playing Ultramarines are newbies, and so that would show up. Like I think that was brought up last week. If that's true, I mean, this would support that.
Yeah, I think it's just also Ultramarines do a lot of things okay, and they can do a lot of things, but they don't do anything better than Raven Guard or Salamanders or Iron Hands. It's like you're just very plain. Like you're flexible, but you're very plain, and you don't have the numbers to back you up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and stop talking about Ultramarines already before we drop some viewership here, and let's actually get some viewers by talking about. I know. Let's gain some viewers by talking about Space Wolves.
I honestly love Space Wolves right now. Just very aggressive and
he's playing Space Wolves.
That's on.
8th edition. He used to go to locals, and he's loving this result, by the way. He's just so weird on Discord.
You might want to rewind. Couldn't hear you over Eldaris earlier.
Oh, sorry. I think my voice might have cut out there a sec.
It's just a push to talk.
I've got a
priority
that is like watching right now, and he plays Space Wolves, and he's loving this result right now. He plays them competitively, like throughout 8th. So
Space Wolves, man, being the better Blood Angels in my opinion, like being really absurdly tankable, being able to bring in the good stuff out of the Space Marine roster, and then have the extra goodies that come with Space Wolves. They got really good relics. They got a really fantastic character, Ragnar Blackmane, who's able to actually allow you to do 6-inch pile-ins and consolidations. That's fucking absurd. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think Space Wolves are just amazing in soup. They don't really rely on any doctrines or whatever, so souping them out is perfectly fine. And they've just got some of the best melee characters and melee beat stakes in the game. So pop them in behind some durable screen and dare an opponent to charge you, because they're not going to beat the Space Wolves characters in melee. It's just, there's very few things that do that.
you have Judy Car on one flank, right, and Armor of Ross on another flank, and you just go and charge me. Like, so that's the 2 main board objectives, like on the flanks, like covered, with like 2 units of Wolfen, and you just like, yeah, go and charge me. You know, you fight last. You die.
I was so surprised with the Wolfen.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just trying to say that I was just so surprised with the Wolfen. Like, I didn't even know they had that profile. They got the toughness 5 on them, and they can bring the shields or whatever. They get a 3-up invuln, and we saw the configuration where they got the 5-up feel no pain. Damn, those things are tanky. And then you bring them with thunder hammers. Very expensive, but oh my god, it hurts.
Flippin' heck, when Wolfen first dropped, they dominated tables left and right. They would single-handedly murder entire armies. Like,
Still very strong.
they're still very good.
Are really good, but if I were to ever play Space Marines, I would play the Emperor's Good as Boys, Space Wolves.
No.
It just feels like awesome.
I'm gonna play Eldar first again.
Let's play the Space Wolves.
As a loyal member of the First Legion, could never play Space Wolves. I would rather die.
But here's the thing, right? Like in 8th edition Space Wolves, you had no delivery system for your Wolfen because like the tanks were too expensive, the flyer was too expensive, and they just died. You don't need to deliver them in 9th edition. You just sit the midboard. So you know, you just sit the midboard and go 3-up invul, 5-up feel no pain, 2 wounds apart, and then you basically your opponent, unless they're like playing Eldar, basically, who can quite happily delete a unit of Wolfen on a midboard objective with like Doom and then Jinx. You know, other than like Eldar, I don't think that a lot of armies really struggle to like kill like a 7-man blob of Wolfen like with shooting.
Yeah.
If Wolfen gets an additional wound, I am switching to Space Wolves for sure.
I would love that. I think they're my second favorite Space Marine faction.
I don't know. I feel like they probably won't
so
get
good.
it.
They're showing
Already
up.
having 2 wounds.
They're showing up, dude. That's just what it is. Space Wolves, underdogs, showing up to this. All right. And let's just, I don't know who put this in here. This should be in Chaos. But we've got Dark Angels with a very suspicious 100% win rate here. Almost as suspicious as their loyalty to the Emperor.
Nope. Their loyalty is just as freaking hands down concrete as that win rate.
God damn it, Curie. And your pain. Why couldn't you lose that game?
He will never lose because he is the best, most loyal servant of the Emperor you can possibly find.
100%, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Dark Angels, they've got their own niche, especially in terms of, I think Raven Wing are still quite strong with the changes to bikes now being able to shoot heavy weapons without penalty. And they can just get around the board pretty quickly and still hold on to things, still good plasmas. Azrael, or is it Asmodee? I think Azrael is still one of the best characters in the game. So
Azrael is the 4+ invul giver. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. I still think you're gonna see a lot Raven Wing. Very strong on the Raven Wing.
Don't they need to advance for the 4-up invul or something like that?
Yes, if you advance, you get a 4-up invul, but there are several ways to still advance and do whatever the heck you want to do. Especially if you're running Black Knights, because you're running assault weapons anyway. So.
I'm
talking. Go, sorry.
Dark Angels are in the wrong section right now.
No, they're not. They're right where they belong. They do belong at the top though, because they are the first Legion. But you know.
I mean, technically they are with 100% win rate. Kinda. But I mean, dude, this is just one game. All right. We need more games.
Okay.
But Eldars bring some very hard to contest points there. They do sound like they have a considerably beneficial kit for this meta, so I will abide by him. And then move on over to Chaos.
Just one more thing about Dark Angels. I feel like they have to go first for them to be effective because they get their invuls after advancing and
you can
stuff like that.
Get the invul for a stratagem as well. 1 CP. You can count as being jinked. And
Yeah,
also, if
like
you have Azrael, you have a 4+ invul anyway.
All right, Chaos. Starting with Dark Angels. I'm sorry, Demons. Let's see.
This joke is 6 editions old. I will kill someone.
All right, I'm sorry. Chaos, generally speaking, 38% win rate. Bumping down actually from their 41% in the last week there. Start off with demons. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Slanesh list.
Oh. It lost,
Slanesh
eh?
list, I think Slanesh lists are still amazing. It's still, of course, they also very heavily depend on going first.
Yeah, Slanesh really wants to go first and actually lose against armies that the armies that just are better than them, because Slanesh really needs to charge you, and if they lose out in the melee, then they're really screwed. But it's still a very strong list. Gets up a board turn 1, can fight you on turn 1 and do a lot of damage.
Hey, wait a minute. Seiko
player leaving?
Seiko's giving us some insider information here that the demon player left and it was a draw. So what are you suggesting, that this would be 100%?
No, the win is counted as the draw is counted as a win. So he's saying he's got a loss and a draw.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
He
no.
forfeit. Okay, no.
Oh, he's dropped.
I put into the loss because it was counted as forfeit, so I put it in as loss instead of like generating another column for forfeited matches.
Okay, so basically what you're saying, that wouldn't have counted as a loss. It would have counted out as a draw, but we have it represented as a loss here.
Yeah, so basically he's only played 1 game and then had to drop out of the tournament. So he's
okay.
at a technically 100% win rate, I guess.
Technically. Slanesh demons? I don't want to see that.
What do you mean? Slanesh demons are best demons.
I don't want to see that in the meta. That's gross. That's gross. I'm shaking my head.
Proper Chaos faction. They're coming next.
Alright, on to Death Guard.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm honestly a little bit surprised to see Death Guard this low. They have very clear problems. They're very slow, and they have trouble fighting over mid-board objectives just because it takes forever for them to reach it. But very durable units, and once they get there, it's kind of hard to move them. Lots of mortal wounds with either Plague Marines or just sweeping in Thousand Suns, and just a lot of shenanigans you can deal with. 4 invulnerable demon engines that are...
Don't they have the best Terminators? They have the best Terminators, right?
No. Dark Angels hold that title by far with Deathwing Knights.
I think
Light Lord Terminators?
I would say Blight Lords are still one of the better Terminators. Deathwing Knights are just... They sit there and they hope that they can do something.
Deathwing Knights are just like the best melee unit in the game. You gotta watch out for that.
I don't know about that. I think Wolfen are better. Melee, to be honest here.
I think even Black Lords are better.
No, I will fight you on that.
Fight you back!
Just very a little sidetracking Deathwing Knights, but they are a phenomenal melee unit. They all have Storm Shields, so 3 have been invulnerable. They have stratagems that give them -1 to wound and melee, and they have really amazing flails that deal an absurd amount of damage. And
they have Thunderhammers without the penalty to hit.
Yeah, so they're a great melee unit, but they're so slow, and if you don't get the charge on the turn they deep strike, they never charge anything because they can't catch up.
There's still a 6-inch move Terminator, and you can deep strike them 6 inches away from enemies with just a little bit of finagling. It's not too hard.
What? 6-inch deep strike?
Yeah,
What?
if you have a Raven Wing unit, you can deploy Deathwing Terminators for 2 CP within 6 inches of the Raven Wing unit, more than 6 inches away from enemy units.
Oh, so it's like a Vex kind of deep strike?
It's a teleporter Homer. Yeah, it's a teleporter Homer.
So the issue with Death Guard, and I touched on this a week ago. We didn't really see like the 2 like super strong Death Guard lists being played in Alpha at all. One of them, like the mass demon engine spam. So like 3 Plagueburst crawlers, 2 to 3 defilers, and like 2 two of the drones. I can't forget the name. But two of the drones with the flesh mowers, 2 to 3 of them, with the 4 pinball and the 5 field of pain. And then with your additional 500 points, you can either get more terrain plus the Zeech patrol, or get Iron Warriors Obliterators in there, or something like that. And the other super strong list is bringing the Rhinos with disgustingly resilient on them, and the invul bubble on them as well. I'm putting MSU Death Guard Plague Marines in them, and then just moving those up the board with the character that turns off charges as well. A couple of those dotted in the Rhinos is really powerful as well. And no one's running those lists right now in Alpha, which is really surprising because they're both super good at what they do. And your opponent can have a really hard time dealing with other things. I mean, Mortarion by himself in 9th edition is super good, because there's some lists that just can't deal with him at all, because he can turn one charge you with warp time from the Zeech patrol, and then if you can't kill him on your next turn, then you're kind of boxed into your deployment zone trying to deal with Mortarion for another turn. And meanwhile, you've got all your other stuff, even though it's slow, it is still moving up the board, and it gives the Death Guard player that bit of breathing room to do that as well, to get mid-board control with the Demon Engines or the Rhinos or whatever. So yeah, I'm really surprised we did not see. I'm gonna have to do a deep dive next week into the Death Guard list we actually have to see what's going on there.
Yeah, I've actually been playing a bit of Death Guard myself, specifically a Demon Engine list with Double Defiler, the Zeech Patrol, Mortarion, and I think it's definitely got its weaknesses. You've got very few units, so if the map has objectives on different corners of the board, it's often difficult to actually get out and reach both and secure both of them. But otherwise, you're very hard to kill, and you do deal a decent amount of damage. Mortarion is hit or miss. He usually dies on turn 1, but if he doesn't die on turn 1, then he's going to sit there and be a monster the whole game. So I think Death Guard overall just have lots of tools. Plague Marines, very good. Rhinos as well, consistently resilient, and just moving object troops of the board are also just really great.
I feel like they can't really deal with the amount of shots Marines can put through, and a lot of people haven't figured out 9th edition meta yet. That's the other thing that I feel holding the Death Guard back a bit, because on paper they sound really good. They have lots of good options to choose from, and with their Psychic Awakening, they can just get a lot of options. Mostly slow and durable options, but a lot of them.
All right, so yeah, and I will point out that most of the Death Guard is actually being souped, so that will be in the Chaos Soup category too. A lot of the Death Guard stuff that I seen was souped up. So, but Mono Death Guard not doing as well as I thought they were gonna do. Guess we could just kind of move into Thousand Suns now. Are at 50% win rate, down from 60 last week.
I know one of them's the Magnus list.
It's a bit surprising for me because I feel like the Night Nerf hasn't affected Thousand Suns as much as the Grey Knights, because they have a lot more psychic power even compared to Grey Knights. They have a bunch to choose from.
Doombolt. Away.
Yeah, I think the thing about Thousand Suns is they're great as a soup option. The Thousand Suns Siege Patrol is honestly, I think, one of the best soup detachments in the game. You dump 400 points into it, and you just can get so many mortal wounds for free. It's actually ridiculous. That being said, Mono Thousand Suns, I think, can struggle. You're missing out on a lot of the great shooting and durability options that Chaos-based Marines or Death Guard have. Rubric's got a big improvement, but still kind of expensive, especially against multi-damage weapons with high AP. And other than that, you have some shenanigans you can do with Terminators that keep on coming back if you don't wipe out the unit. But overall,
Terminators, right? Like
You can revive. I think it's a CP, and you can like revive one.
Yeah, I've had someone like revive 3 or 4 Terminators in one turn, and they're like pretty obnoxious to kill.
That's pretty gruesome.
All is dust.
Alright, well, Chaos Space Marines, and this is going to be including all the off factions there, I think.
Iron Hand.
It's mostly Iron Warriors and
Iron
Emperor
Warriors.
Children's. I think at least one Emperor's Children list, and mostly I think I've seen Iron Warriors.
No Black
Which
Legion.
is kind of weird, honestly. Like, Iron Warriors may be good, but they're still, like, a pretty weird place in being a shooting-focused list in an army that has mostly benefits to melee.
Yeah, I think another thing is Obliterators are very popular for, I don't really know why. I don't actually recommend Obliterators. Sure, if you're Slaanesh and you can double shoot them, but they are so fragile and they are so expensive that it's usually a waste of points to try and grab them, unless you get first turn.
People are bringing them for the
I mean,
Iron
a lot of
Warriors
people
strat
are
to
still under
reroll
this
the
assumption
thing.
that you have to like deep strike the Obliterators, and you don't in like 9th edition. It's 3 models that you can just put behind a bit of obscuring terrain, and they'll just and they can just hit the board, like from turn 1 because it's smaller. Because I come across a lot of people with Obliterators and they're still deep striking them. I'm kind of confused as to why, because you just don't need to do that. Like in 9th edition at all, you can have that fire, that horrendous fire, like double shoot on turn 1, which is absolutely insane, and it's really easy to do with a bit of obscuring terrain. And I think people are still trying to kind of like figure that kind of stuff out. Demon engines and Chaos Space Marines are great as well now, with like not moving fire heavy penalty, and Lord Discordant with them as well. It's fantastic, but I think it's just people trying to adapt and haven't had. They're a really weird army, like to have to go from this we play possess bomb to that no longer works. What do we do now? And I think people are still kind of trying to figure that out with like
Obliterators, obviously. Deep strike them. Yeah, I've seen them.
I forgot. Aren't a bunch of those losses Alpha Legion? There's an Alpha Legion player, right?
I don't know. We don't have that information, but I do know that there is an Alpha Legion list in this league.
Now, I said before Ragnar is the best melee beat stick. I totally lied. Flawless Host Lord Discordants are still by far the best melee beat sticks in the game.
Flawless Host melee characters are fucking amazing. They are. I've run that before for fun. It's great. Just hey, here's 20 hits. Have fun with that. 20 wounds.
Yikes.
20 wounds at -3 damage. It's great.
And then we'll go into Chaos Soup. I don't know actually what's actually being souped. I know Death Guard.
Probably with demons, I'd assume.
I just see mostly Nurgle demons. Sometimes Siege demons for doing horror blobs instead, but mostly Nurgle for support control.
Well, they are not doing as well as their Imperium counter parts in terms of wins, so they are being dealt with, and this is a relatively good sample size, I would say.
I mean, hey, that's what happens, right? When like one side of the spectrum in terms of Marines gets like 1 million special rules for free, and the other one doesn't get any.
That's true. Oh well. Sorry, but not sorry. You're a heretic. That's what you get.
Yeah, the heretics are in a bad spot, I think, overall.
Yeah, definitely just overall very fragile compared to the Imperium counterparts, with the exception of Death Guard, who are just slow. So you have just different problems with different Chaos armies that don't supplement each other all that well, except for Thousand Suns being a broken patrol detachment.
Not as well as Imperium, that's for sure. Reflects the lore, I think. Very good. Chaos Knights, which hasn't played any games, so we can go ahead and skip that. I mean, unless you guys want to talk about Chaos Knights.
They are undefeated so far. They are there because there was a misrepresent, and
Ah,
yeah, I put them in, and then they had a misrepresented role. That's why they are in there. And yeah, yes, I will see. I think they are bad.
The only thing I can say about Chaos Knights from a TO perspective is learn your rules. I do not want your opponents going to be going, this person has played this wrong, and this wrong, and this wrong. So just, I know they're quite a complicated army, but just make sure you going into your games, if you are playing Chaos Knights, you know your rules, because there's been like 2 matchups now, like with different people. I'm not going to name names or anything, because that's unfair. But basically, people have been getting their rules wrong with their knights.
gotcha. All right, well, we can go into Xenos, and we'll start this off with the win rate at 38% this week, coming down from a 41% last week. We start off with Tau. Tau.
Jesus Christ. Tau. I think they are strong, to be honest. They still got Overwatch. Like, Shieldron's got nerfed, but they have the options.
Yeah, the thing is, drones are still very fast and get around the map very easily. They can take the leadership of Fire Warriors, I believe, so they can be pretty high leadership. You have just a bunch of different options. Riptides are still decent. Your ability to ignore cover and line of sight against all of this terrain that's on these boards is very nice. And overall, they used to be a midfield castle, like they weren't a backfield castle like a lot of the other castle armies used to have. And being midfield castle means they do like the changes tonight.
Who needs shield drones when you can go to a Riptide because you're getting the CP for every turn? I'm giving this Riptide a 3-up invul and increased shots on the gun. And I've got the CP, if it does get damaged, to make it shoot on full profile anyway. You know? So who really needs shield drones in 9th edition? And you've got like
Riptides.
more CP to play around with on your Riptides like that. So yeah, everyone was like every Tau player was really upset about a 15-point shield drone, but it doesn't seem to be mattering a huge amount. And I think 9th edition has opened up a lot more doors for Tau. Like the Ghost Kill is super good in 9th edition as well, because that ability to forward deploy with it, and the 4-up invul and -1 to hit is super good. And that doesn't require shield drone support either, because I think it's a bit less points than the Riptide, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's like 250 or something like that.
Crisis Bomb is pointless now. Like that like PA thing is like gone completely. It just doesn't do anything because it's.
But there's only. I remember looking at the list. There's only one list that are actually running Riptides, isn't it? The rest are like Hammerheads, and were there Piranhas and Tetras and shit?
A lot more options for Tau now, which is great. You don't just see like triple Riptide constantly. You might see like 1 or 2 Riptides in the list because again, like I was saying, you've got the CP to give it like the 3-up invul or make it just shoot on full profile.
The model's
still great. To how heavy weapons work. Tau used to really suffer from having to move and shoot, and now they don't really care as much, so they can kind of save their Monka and Cloud units for more opportune times, instead of like forcing to burning it on turn 1 and running Shadow Sun for turn 2.
And now Riptides can shoot into melee with their heavy burst cannons. They don't have blast on that, right?
I believe so.
So yeah, that was like one of the well, even though with the fallback, I guess he could just bring Dark Strider because he gives an aura of fallback and shoot. But
he gives to an infantry unit, I believe, so it doesn't matter. Riptide used to have flies, so it could fall back and shoot as well.
Oh, okay,
but,
yeah.
Like, it's just the changes to heavy have greatly benefited Tau, and due to the prevalence of cover, SMS are also very nice. It's, I think, more of a meta shift that benefits Tau. Another thing that Tau really like is the prevalence of Space Marine armies. Riptide's obviously a great profile against them, but the other thing is Space Marines love to run low shot count, high AP weapons. And this is precisely the type of offensive profile that Tau defensively is really good against.
I think we saw a list in there that was running double Yavaras. Wonder how that's doing. 2 Yavaras. Very scary. Yeah. Does anybody have anything to add to Tau? Like, I don't think cause we just tanked viewership when we started talking about Tau.
I just wanna say fuck Tau. I really hate them. Like they every time
Every
ever one
edition.
of my hardest matchups. I don't know.
Alright, let's go to everyone's favorite Xenos army, and that's Orcs.
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 Yeah, Orcs. 40% win rate at last week, and now they're at 30.
I think Orcs are actually still a very good list. Like they've got some great options, but they've got several key problems. The first one is dense terrain screws them over really badly, and the second is they mostly have no invulns and they're super easy to kill. But a lot of their units were pointed around the cost where their shooting was. They have a lot of really high impact shots that never hit anything because they were heavy weapons and these platforms needed to move. But with that change, a lot of their really weird platforms have so many shots that are like D3, D6 damage and hit on 4s or 5s that they're actually still a pretty good shooting army, I feel.
I feel like Orcs are bad. But if you are playing Orcs, you are not there to win. You are there to have fun. Orcs are a fun army to play, and they are fun to watch. But I don't think they are really strong.
Totally agree. Just super inconsistent, but when they roll high, oh boy, do you feel that like 20 damage off of one smasher.
They're in a really weird spot, right? Because, right, I feel bad for Orc players, because I love rocking up against the table against anyone playing Orcs. I just feel bad for them, because your big blobs of 30 boys don't work because of Blast. You no longer have the suit-top shocker because the vigilance attachment's gone. You know, and as you were commenting, like, the terrain does not favor them at all. There's just only like so many things you can do with your codex.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really bad. People have tried these like mass buggy lists, which I think look great on the table, by the way. All these like suit up dragsters and all that kind of like nonsense, basically. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And they can do really well. They can perform. But when they don't perform, they really don't perform and they just die. It's really sad. And one of my best friends plays Orcs. He's a really good player. He's placed really high in local events before. Playing his Orc is Bad Moons. And yeah, so he's just like, I don't know what to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, we've seen... But, you know, this is interesting because, once again, all these lists are different, right? But we're not really seeing too much... what's the word for that? We're not seeing, like, the same lists, you know, being copied over, right? Every Orc list is different in Alpha League. And there are some units that are being taken more than others. Like, I think the Mech Boys is what... Everybody's really taking on that, but I mean, we have lists that bring Gaskell. We've got Morkanauts and Gorkanauts. We've got Speedy Boys on the jet and the scrap jet. I'm sorry, my dog. Sorry, but yeah, there's so much that's actually being played, and from what I've seen, they just seem really fun. I wonder when we'll see a competitive, like an actual super competitive list of Orcs being formulated.
Yeah, I think one of the best units Orcs has right now is actually their transport, the Chinook Warcopter. The double Rattler cannons on that thing that you can run is actually incredibly good. It can hold 10 models after it dies. You can have a group of boys sitting on your objective. But each Rattler cannon is heavy 2d6, strength 5, AP 2, d3 damage, which is also incredibly good. So definitely look at that transport option if you're looking to play Orcs.
What do you think about Gaskell?
He's amazing.
His model's amazing.
Against a lot of lists, they can't kill him in one turn. A lot of lists don't have a psychic phase, and if they can't kill him in one turn, he's going to get work done. But if you do have a psychic phase, then Gaskell is actually kind of bad. But he does have a lot of good uses since he's so hard to remove in 1 or 2 turns.
Also, he gives your army advance and charge for free, and that's amazing.
what I don't get about Gaskell, right, is why does he not have the Supreme Commander thing? Like, Gilliman has it, like, Mortarion has it, and the other guy, Magnus, he has it as well, but Gaskell doesn't. And
Wait, he doesn't?
That really confused me at, like, the start of 9th. It was like, what?
Wait, yeah, no, I thought what, really? You can't take him in a Supreme Command Detachment?
No, he's just a regular HQ.
What the Dude, that's a Prime Orc. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that's going to change. I know that they're going in that direction, without a doubt. But would it be enough? I mean, that would be nice, right? Wouldn't it be nice to take Gaskell in a Supreme Command Detachment?
Oh, yeah, that opens up the doors for Orcs, if you can do that.
That comes.
I feel like Orcs still need a bit more than just to have Gaskell in Supreme Command. I don't think they are going to be like top tier army without massive point changes like ever. But they are a really fun army to play, a really fun army to play against, and a really fun army to watch.
That's true. We do have fun watching Orcs and everybody. As soon as we started talking about Orcs, we started getting some view count back. I guess we can talk about Necrons and how underwhelming they are. Still.
Necrons bad.
Yeah, Necrons slow, can't contest objectives because they are not that great at melee, and they can't even get onto them because they're so slow. So, just a lot of things they struggle with. Also, point increases on Doomsday Arcs. Troops are still fine, but it's just not enough to win them games, I feel.
Back in October, it's all going to have Necrons right now.
I think with the Necrons, we can give them this.
They need their new codex, and
Yeah.
let's hope they get something decent.
A bit too overcosted because the resurrection protocols.
Alright, so Gene Stealer Cult's actually somehow managing to squeak out a win there. Interesting.
And a draw. They draw against Tau.
What?
Wow.
No way, dude. Gene Stealer Cult's winning against Tau?
No, not winning, it's drawing. I think it was like 63 points.
Darn.
Oh. I don't know what to say to that, boys. We need to see these Gene Stealer Cult games? Okay.
Yeah, I think that should be, like, I love GSG. And the actual unofficial mascot of, like, Alpha League is a GSG Megas called Melvin. So you definitely have to stream, like, a GSG game at some point.
I think if we do the chess clocks, right, and maybe we move back the time a little bit, we could probably stream 2 games a day. That might help a little bit, right? We can get that. We'll have more openings for people who want to try casting, and it'll be that many more games to catch. I don't know. It'll definitely extend the stream, but yeah, that's all I said of the topic. Gene Stealer Cults squeaking a win out, 20% win rate in week 2. But still, let's they're still weak, right? You're still playing at a deficit if you're playing Gene Stealer Cults.
They're not good right now. The army just has problems. Like, it had problems towards the end of 8th edition. It received a bunch of nerfs, which were really bizarre, because they fundamentally, like, broke how the army was meant to play. Like, some of these nerfs, like, made, like, no sense to the army. It was basically GW just didn't like it, so they changed it, because it didn't fit in with their ethos of the game. But it was kind of how the army was, like, designed to play. And then, from then they just had more and more problems just piled upon them. Like, against Space Marines, you just died as Gene Stealer Cults. You couldn't charge anything because of, like, obscene Overwatch, and died. And then going into 9th edition, you had points increases for, like, your key units. Okay, your transports now hit on 4s as opposed to 5s. You didn't really use them anyway because they were really bad. Because I think they're like T6 or T5 or something. Yeah, sure, you get 6 out feel no pain, but I think they're only like 8-10 wounds, and they're quite expensive for what they do. And people are like,
Deficit.
oh, you can run your MSU units and this kind of stuff, and it still just didn't work. And even these like amazing characters that you rely on, you now have the new lookout sir rule. So you need to be really so careful with these character placements. And as soon as that like screen that has like no armor and no invul dies, your characters die. So yeah, they're in a really, really bad spot.
I would agree with that. Solid assessment.
Now the best part of GSC now is really just you still have infantry squads, and it's the best troops at a NIDS, I guess.
Yep. Speaking of NIDS, holy shoot. What about that? In week 1, they did 75% win rate. And then in week 2, 45%. That's still better than a lot of other... And I personally thought they were not as good, but they're holding their own here in Alpha League.
No, that sounds about right. As it continues, they'll probably see a couple more losses, but they can still edge out wins on the right faction.
I think I saw John Lennon playing... it was either Richard Siegler or John Lennon running NIDS. They were playing again a game. I forget what it was Tyranids versus. Does anybody remember what that matchup was? It was on one of the streams. I forget. It was Art of War Gaming. This stuff is being played locally on the local level. Tyranids.
I think Tyranids still have their own cool, unique aesthetic, but power level wise, they're definitely not in an amazing spot. They can do some shenanigans with movement control and movement block offs with Biovores. They've still got Hive Guard, they've got decent Psychers, but there's just so many weaknesses that they have as well.
There's tons of weaknesses they have. It really depends on the matchup, the dice, and of course the controlling player. But there are certain things that, like, against Space Marines, you're gonna have a horrible time.
Yeah, I see a player like John Lennon picking up Tyranids, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what? That's...
At first, they are just a bit below average. So I think the 45% win rate is that's what they are gonna hover around.
Tyranids have needed a new book for like 2 years now. Like, they have not really gotten a net buff since the start of 8th edition.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. But considering what they have now, they're not doing as bad as other things. Not as bad as Ultramarines and stuff like that. Things of that nature. I guess we can move down into the Eldar, which is not in the Xenos lineup. It's in its own category. At a 59% win rate. Week 1 was 69%. Week 2, 59. Is that the highest? Is that the highest win rate we have for a? Well, actually, this should count. This should be factored into Xenos. To be honest. Yeah. So let's talk about one of the best factions for Eldari. Let's talk about Harlequins.
They're easily one of the strongest factions at 9th right now, opening up. You know, you can just pure Harlequins is great. You get your bonuses. You players are amazing for getting to the middle of the objectives.
I distinctively remember you specifically saying that Harlequins were not that great. I think he said that.
I did say that, and I will own up to that, and I will admit I was wrong. I looked at it again.
I was the prophet.
How the missions are, and you know what? No, they're solid as hell. They have everything needed in their kit to deal with everyone out there, and they can play the objective very solidly.
I think I distinctly remember. I distinctly remembered me and Arover being the prophets here.
Hey, I just said I was being wrong.
It was Aladaris as well. Aladaris is like, not. I remember.
I will admit to being wrong.
They break the rules.
The thing with Harlequins is, I think they are the only faction that can allow themselves to go second. Basically, they are not as badly affected by going second as the other factions.
So Aladaris, I gotta say, I would like to hear what you have to say here.
Sure. So I think it's really the mission changes that made Harlequin good. The two things that made them good are mission and terrain. Obscuring terrain is huge for them, and the missions being as objective focused as they are very good for them. And the third thing that makes them good is the matchups. So Harlequins spam fusion and spam super high AP. And what army really does not like that? It's Space Marines. And what army is the most popular in the game right now? That's also Space Marines. Harlequins just have fantastic matchups against Space Marines, Custodes, a lot of the really popular demon lists that really like to run high toughness units, your big bulky units that sit on objectives, and Harlequins just deal with that fantastically. So if this was 8th, I think Harlequins are still a pretty terrible army, but because of the mission, terrain, and matchup changes, Harlequins are very powerful right now.
Do you have anything to say to that, Rover?
I agree. I was just gonna touch on. It's really weird that you have an army that has like 5 units, but there's like in 9th edition, there's like 1,000,001 ways to play those units, because the way the missions work. Like you can play Harlequins like every matchup. You can just play it differently just to mess with your opponent's head. You're one of like the 3 factions that has a redeploy strat, which is huge in 9th edition. And then if you want it, you can just deny secondaries as well. They're super good at that. So say for example, your opponent's got like Assassinate, you just put all your characters in Star Weavers and just hang them at the back of the board, because you don't even really rely on those characters to do much for you. You know, if your opponent's got various other things as well, like Repair Teleport Homers, you can just send like a Star Weaver in to go and harass that. They kill vehicles, because Sky Weavers are super good at that with Haywire, so that any vehicles that the opponent has will die. The PA strats that they got, like Strike and Fade, is absolutely amazing. So being able to like charge a unit, hit it, and then for your consolidate and move 16 inches is absolutely ridiculous in 9th edition, like with obscuring. And then with your second unit, you can fire and fade it, so your opponent basically doesn't get to hit you for like 3 command points in a turn. So yeah, the Harlequins are just they're probably they are the best Eldar like faction right now, without a doubt. It's really strange because they didn't get much of a points increase either, as well. And considering, like I said, they have 5 units, there's like 1,000,000 ways to play them in 9th edition, which is really good. But they're not an auto-win faction. If people are thinking that, they are very hard to play. Like people look at win rates and go, "Oh, this army must be super good because it's doing super well." You have to think your units are so fragile. At the end of the day, your like Star Weavers are still in toughness 5-6 wounds for a pinball. You know, so they will die. Your troop are like toughness 3 for a pinball, they'll die. So you have to be like really clever in your movements. You have to use terrain like every turn. You have to not pick fights that you'll lose, because you will lose them in a really, really bad way. Like I've seen Harlequin players lose half their army from making like one like big mistake in a turn, because they think they're invincible because they have such high win rate. So they are a thinking man's army. And I'm not saying that a lot of armies like on that either, but with Harlequins, if you make a mistake, you will super feel it. They're very unforgiving like that.
So basically, super glass cannons.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think Harlequins have some terrible matchups. I think they almost auto lose versus a good Tau player. I think that's an almost impossible matchup for Harlequins to play.
I think I've heard the opposite, but I mean, this was an 8th edition, that is, and this was before the White Dwarf update to the Harlequins. But I think that it was like at one point it was a unfavorable matchup for Tau in that sense. But that's old information.
I definitely think when it comes to Harlequins, your hardest matchups will probably be Tau,
Mhm.
Admech, and depending on the list, Tyranids. Tyranids can rip hard.
See, there's a way around that though. You just bring the ink card, and then those matchups become like really easy.
Okay. What do you got, Oliver?
Although that's not pure Harlequins anymore. That's Eldari.
That's Eldar. I regret not bringing the murder clowns.
All right.
I should have stayed with them.
Well, before we talk about Eldari and Craft Worlds and the soup and stuff, let's just take a minute to pay our respects.
My
The Dark Eldar.
My poor boy.
Everybody, F in the chat for Dark Eldar at 0%.
F in the chat for Natural Nuke specifically.
Big F.
The poor boy had no idea what he was signing up for.
Yeah, Dark Eldar was one of the best armies in 8th for the longest time, just because its invader cannons were such an amazing profile. Laser Wings were great, Ravagers were great, Venoms were great. But in 9th, point cost changes made those so expensive. Venoms are almost completely worthless because, well, poison just doesn't matter. So you're really playing a worse card against this with Dark Eldar for the most part, I feel.
I don't agree with the Venoms, but okay. I still think they could be viable.
That works weirdly, but it's like going back to that Amic like earlier. I just think you have to find it. Dark Eldar still has a very powerful toolbox. There's still a lot of really good things in there. Yeah, Venoms are now Venoms were bad at the end of 8th edition. Space Marines just could delete 5 Venoms a turn. And then when
people were still running 12 Venoms though.
Yeah, I know, and I'm like, I'm kind of as a Jakari player myself. I'm kind of like, why? Like,
honestly, I thought it worked super well. I've seen that list that runs 12 Venoms and then 2 Raiders, and no, it works. It works amazingly. They get the objectives they need, even if they take lots of heavy losses.
They were good in 8th. They are not good in 9th.
I think they could be viable. I think they just need to find it.
I think they are way too expensive to be viable, and most of their units is just way too squishy with like paper armor, 6-ups, and if you ever manage to get to them, they are dead because most of their units don't have an info in melee.
Right, I'm gonna say something to the stream right now. If I make it to playoffs, I'm gonna play a Dark Eldar list in playoffs.
Wow.
You heard me here.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
I'm gonna get far with Dark Eldar. Might be Dark Eldar soup, but the majority faction will be Dark Eldar.
I'm not sure if I want to run Knights or Astra Militarum if I make playoffs, just to prove something.
If I make up the playoffs, I'm playing Harlequins for sure.
Cat.
If I make it to playoffs, I'm not playing anything because I'm not in Alpha League this season.
Well, that sounds like your problem.
Well, I guess we can just talk about Craft Worlds now.
Oh yeah, everything you said about Harlequins, but slightly worse.
Shoot your opponent off the board in turn 1, which is like the only thing Craft Worlds is good at right now. You'll get a 50% win rate.
Yep.
Now this is basically spamming using one reroll on everything through the Craft World trait. I think is the most common one now. So you can have good shooting, but still same playstyle.
Yep, they were one of the best armies in 8th edition, and in 9th edition you just have to play the mission and not shoot off your enemies off the board, sadly.
Hey, the air wing is gone. I am so happy that I'm not running into 6 flyers anymore for Craft World.
Nobody runs 6 flyers.
No, many people ran 6 flyers.
They did.
So many people. I had to go up against that list so many times. Oh, it was the worst.
Crimson Hunters and fucking Hemlock Wraith Fighters and
they get psychic flyers and just like -3 to hit and like no completely ruined it.
Like,
I'm so happy.
I'm glad. Me too.
So happy.
I'm not. I miss my list. My Magdar.
Eldar are weird. Like Eldar are obviously like my favorite top faction to play, but right now they're just weird. Like the points increases were really strange, like for some of the stuff, and their troops are terrible. Like, with possibly the exception of Black Guardians of Wolfway, just because. But then even those though, because you have to run them as like units of 10 or 11 with the platform, they're bad because blast is a thing. Rangers are terrible, like because everything can just ignore their -1 to hit. And Dire Avengers, people go on about Dire Avengers. I never see Dire Avengers last longer than a turn to hold anything because they're just T3 4-up save.
People go on about Dire Avengers?
Yeah, like apparently they're good, and I'm like, no, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're terrible. And Storm Guardians, like your one go-to like in 8th was Storm Guardians just to screen out, and even that they got like a massive points increase as well. So all your troop options are compared to every other faction in the game, with possibly the exception of Dark Eldar, are terrible. And that puts you at a disadvantage already. The fact that the Wave Serpent got another points increase for like the third, fourth time was not necessary at all for that tank. It's a super good tank, don't get me wrong, but super good transport, but it's too expensive to run right now. The Flyers, obviously, you know, they're not good anymore. There was problems with them in 8th edition, and we saw that go into 9th edition even more. And again, another 20-point increase on the Crimson Hunter Exarch just made it.
I don't feel bad for any of this. You deserve it. You deserve it.
This out of assault over his favorite faction right now. You guys are listening.
This is the entire rest of the community's joy.
Yeah, I know, right? everyone's just like, look at this guy right now.
Complaining that all of your bullshit was taken away.
Grinning at me, you know. But no, in all seriousness, I know I've kind of played devil's advocate in a sense here. I kind of agree that some of this it's good to see them like not on top anymore, because some of the things that Eldar could do were absolutely insane. But
well, I mean, they're still, when you bring them in soup, they're at 100% win rate. What the?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! We're here. Let's play that music, the world's saddest violin over here, talking about point nerfs and. Come on, bro.
I feel like we are not at the soup part. This is just pure Craftworks, and like they have to go first. They have to deal damage for them to win, basically.
Oh
I think.
Yeah.
Nobody feels bad.
I'm sure the Craftworks Codex will be broken.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. But then again, who knows? The next Tyranid and Dark Eldar Codex might revive them back to the top.
Maybe they'll get the Necron treatment.
And also, I think I finally figured out why I hated Grey Knights so much. It's for the same reason Dark Eldars. I saw them played in 5th edition. I might have only started playing at 6th, but I saw them played in 5th edition, and it's like, I wonder how long it'll take for them to get back that crown. Oh, God.
I would like to see Eldari get a unimpactful Tyranid Codex update / Necron level update.
Oh, you mean where they get new stuff, but it's all terrible?
Yeah, exactly.
In there.
Here's the thing, all right? I don't feel bad for Eldar. I don't feel bad. They've dominated, and they dominated some more, and they played the most cheesiest, shittiest list I've ever seen. -3 to hit. Ah! What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Stop complaining. Stop.
Fucking worse.
It's Space Marines time.
No, fuck Space Marines. Fuck Space Marines. Get Necrons in here. Get Nids in here. Get Jesus in here. I don't fucking care.
Now is the time for Orcs. It's time to Castaway.
I can agree on Orcs.
Return to Orc.
Deserve the time.
Okay, what we'll say about Craftworks is like everyone harps on about these like Hornets. Yep, they're really good, but as soon as they get tagged, they do nothing. Like if you're playing Eldar and struggling, and this is sort of a very off-the-cuff comment, but this is just a list I've been trying in real life right now, and I'm actually getting wins against my friends with it, and that is just, we will play like hyper-competitive games for like tournaments and stuff. Try running Ulfway. Ulfway are great because they just survive better than any other like faction like right now. No one cares about your like reroll hit wound anymore because they just tag you and your stuff's gonna die anyway. So you may as well just try something else. I mean, you've got Eldred, who's like 1.5 Farseers, and when you've got like limited HQs, he's amazing. So try running some Ulfway. I think Ulfway can get.
Aren't you running that weird character Incarn?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about an Eldar suit and why it's so good.
What?
All right, let's go into Eldar Soup then. Good segue. Tell us about the Incarn.
So the Incarn, like people were saying like earlier with Harlequins, like Tal's like a really bad matchup. So if you soup in like the Incarn, so you take like a Unari patrol, and the Incarn's the HQ. That opens up so many doors to you for problems that your list can face, because the ability to teleport around the map in 9th edition with this 9-wing character who's a beatstick in combat is hilarious. And say for instance, like you kill like a unit of 2 drones with like a Star Weaver, you pop up 3 inches away from that riptide, and then you heroically intervene into it, all of a sudden that's a massive problem for the Tau player to have to deal with. The Incarn's got so much utility. It gives you an extra smite as well, which is great. Mortal wound output, and can just cause a lot of problems. Like it's well worth looking just to soup in like a Unari patrol just for the Incarn, I feel.
The Yinkan can heroic intervene after it teleported?
Yep.
Oh, fucking hell.
More Eldar
also,
shenanigans.
If you have killed something, you fight first as well.
Yeah. The Incarn is back on the board a lot.
It's okay because GW is going to catch on to this, and I can't wait to see what kind of updates they got for the
GW.
Eldar.
Interestingly, GW has made it very aware that they pay attention to the tournament scene.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not going to go out and say they're watching Alpha. Because,
Oh, they pretend that we don't exist.
yeah, but yeah, I'm curious if we see like 5 Harlequin lists in the finals, if just all of a sudden just boom, nerf hammer.
That'd be hilarious, dude. Good.
All right, now, for some reason, we only looked at one pod, and then we looked at all of the factions. Are we gonna finish going through the pods?
Oh, we probably don't have enough time to go through all
yeah.
of them. We've already gone through the lists that have been doing well. You can already kind of see performing, but
there's a widget.
Sorry, we're seeing a little bit like come up is running Eldar, just in like a small sort of like Ulfway patrol. I've seen that in a couple of alpha lists, just because of the psychic powers that he brings alone are obscene. With like it's a smite and it's an executioner, so and then it's a plus for it can be like a +3 to cast on those as well. So that that's a lot of mortal wound output from like one character, which is really good. I've seen a couple of people just running him in a little Ulfway patrol. Now Eldar soup. The other one which I'm quite surprised by, but which I think is a really nice fit into like Dark Eldar, is 3 fire prisms as well, because Drakari really struggle with like anti-tank firepower, and if you run like a Warlock Skyrunner for Jinx, and then 3 fire prisms for link fire, like every turn, you'll guaranteed kill a vehicle. So that's a nice little soup attachment you can put into a Drakari army as well.
I don't have much comment to say. Good on Eldari. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about a little bit. I've got something here on the screen here for everyone to see. It is a list of all the groups as well as the current results. Joko, are you the best player in Alpha League right now? Like, what?
No, I'm definitely not.
What's going on there?
Oh,
You're in Pod 1 and you're dominating.
He's expecting to get smashed his next 2 games, I think.
Yes.
Hmm.
I think Manbear Pig is gonna take the top spot, probably. Like, Katamit Tau! Bane of my existence!
I think you're gonna have a better time than the Salamanders game that you had. I don't know.
Okay, your sister of the sisters in Group 3, Ash is doing well as well. Well, I'll rhyme them, man. I can't believe I got away with that.
I'm rooting. I'm rooting for you, Joko.
Has done really well. Ash is on 3 wins and 1 loss in Group 3, top of the group with Sister Battle as well.
Yeah.
Great Devourer.
Sisters are good.
Because there was that weird time where they got their book and then no one, the models didn't come out until like right before quarantine, actually. So yeah, there's lots of people that don't know what sisters do, which is interesting.
What's happening in Group 2 right here? Juicy is coming out here on top, but I guess not all the games have been played there.
Everyone played at least 1 game, it looks like.
What is he playing? Let's see. Okay.
He's playing Iron Hands.
Iron Hands.
Ah.
Really? Okay. Yeah. All right. Group 3. You said Ashley was playing Sisters.
Yep.
Doing pretty well with that. Still have some unplayed games there. Group 4, we've got Dan K. Actually, that's the highest score that we've ever seen. What's he playing?
Raven Guard.
Ooh.
I played a practice game with him. He's a really damn good.
I believe he's friends with Nick Rose as well.
Okay, what's going on in Group 5? Group 5's got nothing really going on.
Like 2 little games to get trained.
Yeah.
Okay.
Group 6 has got a lot going on. That's higher than Dan K.
Oh.
Hungary over there.
King Bella Hungary?
I think that's at the top. There is 2 Custodes 2 players.
Ah, he's running the Adeptus Custodes soup. What is he actually?
Yeah, it's a lower bomb.
So he's running Astra Militarum and Dreadhost.
Yeah, very interesting that he's running Aquilons instead of Alaris. But
Okay.
That's pretty interesting, I would say too. Solarite Power Gauntlets?
they're pretty beastly in melee, but just Alaris have way more utility, so that's why you didn't see Alaris being run.
Right. Okay, back to here.
Also, another interesting thing, he's running a Salvo Launcher plus All-Seeing Annihilator. I believe that allows him to target characters with a Melta shot, basically. So, interesting tech option there.
Cool. Anders. Let's see. So, Group 7. Got Mitch on the top here. What's Mitch playing? He's playing Imperium Soup. Knights. Raven Guard. What that looks like.
House Tyrannus.
3 Knight Crusaders.
Wait. Crusader.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
they got a new stratagem in Psychic Awakening. If you're within 8 inches, every shot on the Gatling cannon auto hits.
Jesus Christ.
I'm a big
Actually,
fan.
no, that's not the Crusader. That's the Warden. My bad. The Crusader is the 2 guns, right? So,
Yeah, Crusader has 2 guns. It's probably the best small knight.
I
but
don't know. Gallant's got its own
quite
place
good.
in my heart.
He also runs a Calidus Assassin.
Well, yeah, the Calidus is probably the best one out of the 4.
Nah, I'd say it's still Calix's, just for the psychic utility.
Bunch of
The problem
infiltrators.
is the Calixtus doesn't come up in 70% of your matches. Overall, the Calidus is just pretty solid.
Alright. Group 7, dominated by Soup of the Knights and Dark. Why can't I remember the name?
It's Raven Guard.
Raven Guard. Okay. We got Group 8 here. Gojki. What's he running? Gojki. Pull up scroll.
Harlequins.
Move.
Oh, sorry, Eldar.
Okay.
Oh, lol. Oops. With fusion pistol spam.
Fusion pistols. Oh my god, that is exactly what I'm. Yeah.
Yep, looks like a good
Weavers with the haywire cannon.
Oof.
Hurricane cannons. Okay, that's.
Probably cruelty on the Death Jester. Like, literally, like, autosec, like, some people still, like, run these, like, blobs of, like, 10 things, and for every model you kill, stealing, like, D3 mortal wounds to the unit is, like, huge, if it's UW 6. 6 for above.
I honestly, you talk up the Death Jester, and I took another look at it again, and I'm like, besides the ignoring Overwatch, I still think it's worthless.
And you can basically combine it with the Relic Digester weapon, right? Make it even better.
You can do Relic as well, like the new Relic.
That's like the only thing I think that makes it decent. Just other than the ignore Overwatch Relic one, it's just like, why would you run a Death Jester?
Well, that's what's performing in Group 8. Doing pretty well. It's got a lot of points on there. Probably one of
using the Eldar instead of the Star Weavers.
It's the highest
a very
points.
interesting list.
seen so far. Group 9.
I have to talk about that quickly. What?
What's that?
Dark Reapers in that Eldar.
Oh yeah, you saw that? He ran
Dark
two
Reapers are great.
Yeah, I was
No,
like,
Dark
two
Reapers are
squad two
great.
3-man squads of Dark Reapers with the Exarchs.
Yeah, no, Dark
So-
Reapers are amazing. I love Dark Reapers.
I
Yeah,
don't
but in
like
that
them.
configuration though, seems kind of weird, don't you think?
I suppose with obscuring, like the problem Dark Reapers had, like in Ninth, was that you were gonna like you normally run a blob of 10 of them, and they're like impossible to obscure and fire and fade. But if you're running like MSU, you can just highlight one unit and fire and fade the other, I guess. So you actually get some benefit out of them.
Yeah. Well, he's getting success out of that.
He's on the Wraith Seer meme as well in Unari, which is the other thing that you can do. So you can Wraith Seer can half damage with the Waller trait, which is pretty cool. And then you have the feel no pain on top of that, so it can become pretty unkillable.
Pretty interesting. Let's see. Where was I? Group 9. Group 9. Max GW. Max GW is running Chaos Soup.
Okay, this is the most interesting list I've seen so far, I think.
Abdemon Spawn. Right? He's running the Mortarian's Anvil. He's got Chaos Cultists, Poxwalkers, with 3 elites, the Foul Light Spawn. One of them is his Warlord, Arch Contaminator. Tallyman, Noxious Lightbringer. Oh, this is interesting. 3, what is this, 5-man squads here of Chaos Spawn? That be?
6, I believe.
6?
I know this list. I've seen it play. It is really good. Basically, the Foul Light Spawn just turn off charges, which is great. And then the Pyrocasters have a strat to shoot all its flavors in combat as well. So they can be really nasty. And then Bloodletter Bomb.
Bloodletters, 19, 20?
19 Bloodletters. I had to check to see if the Foul Blight Spawn just turns it off for Death Guard units, or it just turns off the charge completely. Because that I can see what he's going for there. If like it is the case that it affects other Chaos units as well.
2-man squad, 2 5-mans of the Nurglings in here. In Ace.
Wasn't the... sorry. Just wanted to say that the full Batsman has a really nasty flamer with like 83 damage, but you have to roll for the strength.
Oh yes, that's right. That's that one, huh?
Yep.
Wait, he's running 3 of them?
Yep.
Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, that flamer is ridiculous. I've seen it. And what about this Pyroclaster squad here? And
Zinch Flamers, they're good. They've always been good.
all right.
Kill shit.
Been doing well for him. Yeah. Well,
It's a very neat list looking at that, yeah.
Group 10 has Anti-Realist coming out on top.
Wins.
Anti-Realist, scroll up to the... Where is he? Here he is. He's running Craft World.
It's a weird list.
Warwalkers, Wraith Lords.
Ooh, Iandon sounds like. Probably isn't, but it'd make me happy if it was.
It's the custom craft world with expert crafters for the...
No, I'm not happy. Shouldn't have told me.
Custom Craft
Warwalk is
World.
great. Like their Warwalkers are. I was saying this from the get go, and people were like they're not good. But for what they do, like fire up invul, 6 wounds, ability to take midboard, ability to shoot in combat, makes them. You can outflank them as well, if need be. Especially with the missile launcher, because you get 2 profiles on the missile launcher. One of them is strength 4 -1 D6 shot, but that's blast as well. And the other one is strength 8 -2 D6 damage. So you've got a multi-purpose weapon on them, which makes them like really good and really versatile for the points. Wraith Lords are interesting because they're T8, which means that they can stick around for a little while. They can fight a little bit in combat, not the best.
Tell me about the huge Warlock Skyrunner Conclave.
See, people. I watched a Telltale Tactics game where this worked really well actually in 9th edition, and it actually kind of surprised me at how well it did, because you're giving this unit all the buffs, right? You're giving it a 3-up invul, you're giving it a 5-up field of pain, you're giving it -1 to hit. And 8th edition it was kind of hit or miss, like because this unit it didn't really do much, but you can literally put this on an objective with all those buffs and go, come at me, bro. You know. So yeah, I can see War Skyrunner Camouflage being kind of good in 9th edition. It is expensive. It's very, very pricey. You see there 480 points. But yeah, if it works, it works. And he's given the Singing Spear to all of them as well, so they can throw that.
Wow.
12-inch range, hitting on 3s, winning on 2s always. D3 damage, no AP. Yeah, I've got to try War Skyrunner Camouflage. It's one of the things that I had to test as Eldar at some point.
All right, cool. That was Group 10.
I feel like they are just a bit too expensive still for what they are doing. Like they don't have any AP on their weapons, basically, and I feel like that hurts them a lot.
You don't have to kill anything if they can't kill you, and that's like really important in 9th edition. Like killing yourself in 9th edition doesn't really matter that much.
Well, I mean, it does, but yeah. Compared to objectives.
All right, let's take a look at Group 11. Lockjaw's Salamanders list here.
Yep.
Triple speeder.
I think this is super standard. I'm just surprised that like not even one small unit of aggressors, but otherwise this is your bog standard Salamanders. So it's pretty much.
I would expect more Eradicators, but
And do you think the Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts are a little weird? Sure.
No.
I haven't seen that before. Is that not something?
Oh,
he's running heavy bolters, close combat weapon, twin autocannons, close combat weapon. It's fine considering that he's running triple Eradicators. Does he really need another 12 las cannons? Like, he can run them to just get in the way. Close combat weapon's really good. Times 2 strength 16, -3 damage.
Also, those land speed of them is nasty.
So much, like, spread out, and then impulsors. Yikes.
This is up there with Harlequins in the list I expect to see win the whole thing. Is a triple Eradicator Salamander list rounded out like this, or Harlequins. Those are one of the two I expect to win the whole thing.
Interesting. Well, it's working out for him so far. Garklov is running Space Wolves.
Yep.
Let's take a look at that.
I think he was the one we seen yesterday on stream.
Here he is. Yeah. So this is his list here. We really saw a lot of worth and value come out of the Wolfen the last time I seen this in play.
That's a lot of plasma cannons.
Yeah, he brings long fangs with plasma cannons, and what we've seen him is he's very aggressive and always supercharging them.
I'd agree with that. No reason not to.
And yeah, Ragnar Blackmane, of course, and Assault Intercessors, which we popularity rise around. I'm pretty sure he has. No, he actually didn't. Oh yeah, he doesn't run the Eradicators. Instead, running all these elites here. It was actually pretty potent, and it did well, and it's working out for him so well, so long, so far. That's Group 12s. Go to Group 13 here. The End Times currently getting a lot of success there.
Death Guard, the one I had to beat. The one I'm not looking forward to facing, because it's actually a really good list. He's got 3 Decimators for what we'd output with Contaminate Monstrosities. They've all got Vital Field No Pain and Evil. The Hellforge Contemptors are interesting. They're not as good as like Space Marine Contemptors, but again, he's put Disgusting Resilient on there, so they're going to be a pain to shift. Chaos Spawn, again, Contaminate Monstrosity, so Disgusting Resilient. I'm not looking forward to this matchup.
I feel like this list just does one thing, and basically stay on objectives and stay that for the whole game, and you just can't shift it because there's so many defensive things.
Yeah, it's really like the Chaos Spawn are just a pain in the ass to kill, right? Like, you don't want to really charge them. They're not that terrifying in melee, but they're still pretty annoying with the number of attacks. They just have so many wounds to chew through that.
They're kind of fast too, aren't they?
God, I hope my D6 rolls on my fusion are good. Not good.
Okay, let's go on to Group 14, Epicheese. Epicheese is running, we'll find out here. White Scars. Oh.
I'll be right back.
Finding the success with his White Scars. Green, it's mono. This is... Everybody's running land speeders, intercessors, yeah. Assault intercessors, flavor of the month, kind of thing.
There's just a lot of troops. You move up the board with intercessors, you charge with them.
Yeah.
And you hope to tie things up, beat things in melee. I don't think there's anything super special. I'm actually kind of surprised this is doing as well as it is, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean it's taken the best of what Space Marine has and then putting the White Scars flavor on top of it. But the question is that enough to continue doing well with when you go against other lists like that?
Possibly. I agree with your sentiments.
Max McGee, Group 15, coming off on the top. Max McGee is running, find out here, Imperium Soup, Admech, with Raven Guard. That's interesting. Bunch of
So I love
Castellans.
the huge blob of Cerberus Raiders. They're just excellent. So he is using a custom Forge World, and all the breachers is a little bit odd to me, but okay, sure.
Yeah, this Cataphren Destroyers with the Cerberus Raiders. I have to say that I've not seen them do so well personally in my matches, but they're you know, from what's described to me, they are a very point efficient model. And so it's been working out for him. So yeah, that looks cool. Cataphren Destroyers and Breachers have Incursors, Infiltrators, Judicar, just basic stuff. Group 16 has Mr. Wasper. This actually is not as, like, he's barely on the top.
Yeah, that's one game played.
We'll see what he's running anyway. What was it, Mr. Wasper? Wasper, Astra Militarum.
All right. I want to see more games from him then.
Tempestus Scions, though.
Wow, never mind.
Hellhounds.
It's not even a Puritan Tempestus Scion, so he's not even getting the bonuses.
Yeah.
I really hope he's not messing that up, by the way. You do not get your Tempestus Scion bonus if you have any other non-Tempestus units in your detachment.
I don't know.
It doesn't look like he's done it, because I'm not seeing a Tempestus Doctrine, but I have seen more than one person mess that up before.
Oh, he's running Hellhounds, Basilisks, Lemon Rusts, Valkyries.
I literally spent... Oh, Valkyries is... Though he put the Tempestus Scions in there, so it's probably a Tempest... I forget the term, but there's a Vigilist attachment that...
Yeah, unfortunately you can't use that either, which is very sad.
Yeah, but he probably has that idea in mind. So scroll back up. Did he spend the command point for it?
I don't think he did.
Zero CP.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I'm willing to bet that the Scions are in the Valkyries, and he's just grab shooting them.
All right. That's Group 16. Group 17 has the Guard Dog, the Gatekeeper. Guard Dog is running... Thousand Suns, Cult of Magic. Literally being a gatekeeper.
Cult of Magic, the best Thousand Suns patrol you can get. Just very solid warlord trait, very solid spells.
Got some more chaos spawn stuff happening over here. We've got Chaos Cultists, Rubric Marines. Interesting. Chaos Predators. Supreme Command Detachment with Magnus. Friendship is magic. List here. Title. I'm not a whatever you call it. No. Let's see. Group 18 has C-Mob 208. Not too many games being played in that, but he is holding his own there. What is his thing again? COC something? Already forgot.
CO2 something 8. It's like CO228.
Oh, I'm sorry, C-Mob. Okay. Mob. Curious. He's playing High Fleets.
Oh, cool beans.
Yes. The Tyranid Warrior spam.
The one that I want to see fail hard because I hate it.
Bringing them in the High Fleet Leviathan.
Yeah, he's giving them Feel No Pains. He's having the Malanthropes to give it -1 to hit. The Neurothropes to assumably maybe give 1 Catalyst or just cast Smite or whatever. And he's got the Tyranid Primes to give them +1 to hit. They're equipped for shooting with Death Spitters, and I think he has Venom Cannons in there. Wait a minute.
Death Spitters.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Mostly Death Spitters and Bone Swords.
No, this is not the Tyranid Warrior list I'm thinking of. This is different. He's got loads of Zonanthropes for Mortal Wound batteries to cast Smite and Psychic Scream, stuff like that. Neurothropes to keep the Zonanthropes healed up and alive. The Pyrovore, I don't know why that's there. The Tyranid Warrior is just there to sit on objectives. Ripper is to sit on ones, and he's got a squad of 6 Hive Guards, double pump.
Oh, Lictor?
I don't know what the Lictor is there for.
The fuck?
Probably just like a deep strike unit that can.
That does, yeah, that helps though, right?
I think the Pyrovore is there because he had points left over, and I think the Lictor over there to just bad touch things.
He also has a lot of Ripper Swarms.
Lictor, that was probably the nerf that made me the most sad, is when they nerfed Death Leaper.
Lictor can deploy Scramblers.
You often see like Guard run 1 Tempestus, just so on turn 3, hopefully they can drop in the back and deploy Scramblers. Probably the same idea here.
This is interesting. I hope he continues to do well with it. It's been working out for him so far. Yeah.
So this is, I don't hate that list, because that list does not focus completely on the Warriors.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of things going on, yeah. All right, we're almost done here. Group 19 for Tootie. Tootie, what are you running, Tootie? Orcs. Orcs. Yeah.
Works.
Here we go. Big mech. Specialist Blood Axes. Extra gubbins. Okay. Big mech with the
trucks. Tank busters in the trucks. I don't know if Megabot and the Mega Knobs can go in trucks or not. It'd be cool if they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of tank busters. Death Dreads.
A lot of Death Dreads as well.
Death Dreads. Wow. You know what? This is what would do well in this meta, wouldn't it? On paper, right? If we were talking about
on
objectives.
Paper, yeah. On paper.
We're talking about
boys. You've got Mega Knobs are a very good melee unit. You have Tank Busters, which are a very good anti-tank unit. They're in trucks to keep them all alive. Death Dreads are okay.
But you just take Big Game Hunter against this list, though, right?
No, you take Bring It Down, and even then...
Bring It Down.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Yeah, 14 points against it. Oh, he's got a custom force field back there. I didn't see that. That makes this whole list a lot more durable. Got a big mech. Yeah, it's a pretty neat list.
Been working for him. But yeah, Group 20 has Sam 98 coming out there pretty decidedly. Sam 98 is bringing the Imperial Fists boys.
Yeah.
I am fortifying this position. Basically copy paste the list, except there's a Fire Raptor in here.
Ooh, Fire Raptor, that's fun.
About the only thing different. He's running a Chapter Master.
Ooh, he's running a max point Fire Raptor too. Jesus.
He's put all his stock in there.
Yeah.
480 points on that model.
It's a very good model, but it can be shot down very quickly if the opponents cut the right kit.
That's a real nice model you have back there.
Eliminators is a weird choice, I'll say. Their nerf to Mortis rounds is definitely... I don't think we'll be
I thought these were Eradicators.
Nope, those are Eliminators.
Ooh.
This feels like a real alpha strike list that will just get rid of all of your vehicles in the first turn with the Fire Raptor.
I got the Inceptors on that. Let's know about that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, the more I look at the list, the more problems I have with it.
He's got a Librarian in there. Like, okay.
They have Might of Heroes, so he's using it to buff the Smash Captain, who has a Thunderhammer, which... Stop running Smash Captains with Thunderhammers. It's not cost effective. Burning Blade. Come on, guys.
Jump pack. Yeah. That's its Smash Chapter Master.
You're paying 40 points for a Thunderhammer. It's not worth it. Just get a Relic Sword. Come on.
Wake up.
It's just as effective.
You're in a coma. Wake up. Okay. All right. So anyway, he has been doing well with it, but if he's doing well with that, I don't know what everybody else is bringing. Justin Kemple is in Group 21 and is doing pretty well. Take a look at what he's running.
I'm back.
Curious. There's 2 Justins in our league.
We should have Battle to the Death to decide who the one true Justin is.
That'll be interesting. Admech.
Atari Vanguard. Oh, I saw. This is the list that beat the Blood Angels on stream.
When? Oh, wait. When was that?
This was like a week and a half ago. I remember seeing this one though.
Oh, was it on was it on a stream on the server?
It might have been a Discord stream.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, this one went up against Dark Angels and it smashed them. This is a very survivable list. All of his Vanguard are in Dune Riders.
It's taking the stages very 8th edition reminiscent, I feel. Honestly,
it's not at all. It really isn't. 8th edition, you're going to see lots of Doom Crawlers, lots of Castellans call. This is not what that is. This is a Stygies list. This is running loads of infantry and loads of transports. It has the 3 Disintegrators. It has a couple Doom Crawlers. But honestly, there's nowhere that there's no Death Star in this. This is max spread out. You don't have the Iron Strider Death Star. You don't have the Dragoon Death Star. You don't have the Castellan Death Star. This is meant to spread out, absorb everything charge-wise, bullet-wise with the Dune Riders. And there's an Inquisitor in there? Hold on. Someone says there's an Inquisitor in there. Zoom in. Scroll down a bit. Nope, right there. Agent of the Imperium. He's running a Malleus Inquisitor. So yeah, he's got denies. He's got leadership 10 on most of his guys, wherever that Inquisitor is, and that Inquisitor is probably in a Dune Rider.
Power through knowledge is a 5-up invul on enemy, right?
What was that?
Power through knowledge, the psychic power. That's the 5-up invul on enemy, right?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check. I think Psychic Fortitude. No, that's deny. I don't know. I don't have the Inquisitor powers memorized.
Okay, well, it's been working out well for him, Justin Kimple. Group 22, Vandalex. He's been doing good. That's a lot of points.
The highest score.
Vandalex.
Yeah, that is the 5-up invul.
Grey Knights. Hello.
Put that on a Dune Rider.
Purifiers. Okay, wait.
It
Well,
is
let's
the
start
bonus
over.
power for Malleus McPherson.
Grandmaster and a Nemesis Dreadnought. He's got 2 of those in there. 2 strike squads.
2 strike squads. Purifier squad. What are they running? Are they running
The Purifying Flame
Hold on.
psychic
trying to
power,
check
I'm
what
thinking.
they're-
No, that's what they have by default.
Oh,
Okay.
he's not running.
Running Sanctuary.
He's running melee purifiers. Interesting.
He's not running either Termies or Paladins.
He's got an extra detachment, which has a Grandmaster and a Nemesis Dreadnought Tech Marine. I didn't know Grey Knights could have Tech Marines. Can you scroll down a bit?
That's it.
2 Venerable Dreadnoughts. With missile launcher, twin las cannon, missile launcher.
Astrolame's key there.
Astrolame.
Yeah, absolutely key. Just you can't shoot this dreadnought the entire game. It's finished.
I've actually done that strategy. One of the games. It was wrong. Astrolane. That's cool. Doing good.
It's a very solid hold the point, kill the enemy.
Exactly with this meta.
Dread Knight earlier.
3 Venerables.
The ability to just like ignore that -1 from moving firing heavy is really big. Because all of a sudden you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, as opposed to hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. So that's like a massive impact for them. And then Gate of Infinity to hop them around the board as well. Is really good.
Gate of Infinity in this
meta. They don't give
meta.
up secondaries like as much as they used to. Sure, they still give up Assassinate, but there's a lot of tricks that you can use to like make one like really survivable as well.
I am such a big fan of Gate of Infinity in this meta here. It is so huge to be able to reposition your units like that. I can see why this is doing well. But not featuring some of the things that I think might be good, but return back to the Grandmaster in Nemesis Dreadknights. That's crazy. Interesting. Sorry, my mouse is
No, it's all good.
All right, so Group 23 is that's you,
Yeah,
Rollo.
I have the highest score out of everyone in the league right now.
Oh, you saying
Are you winning, son?
winning?
I'm winning, Dad.
Okay, and yep, you're just this is Iron Hands list.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna change it the second if I make playoffs. I'm gonna change it in a heartbeat because I'm really bored with it. But
Ooh, Dreadnought, Leviathan Dreadnought with the storm.
Yeah. That thing is single-handedly murdering, like,
Fuck off,
70% of my kills are on that guy.
dude. I hate
Are
that.
you making the...
Sorry, I just like looked at it. I think I saw you play this as well, and yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, you did see me play it. It fucking just
That unit.
It's horrific to play against. Just dreadnoughts, whirlwinds, and land speeders for removal control. These are all things that we kind of touched on, like the first stream. How those sort of like mid, sort of like wound tier vehicles, like T6, 6 to 8 wounds, are huge, and they have a lot of. And land speed has so much firepower on it as well. It's disgusting. And then you're rerolling ones because of Dead Doctrine, Turn 1.
Oh yeah,
you know,
and of course it's also an easy way to just grab
and
engage.
XRP. And yeah, it's insane.
I think that
It's definitely it's an Alpha Strike list, hands down, but it's also just meant to survive. Hardcore.
Oh,
Everything's
it's
got
gonna
feel no pain. Yes, 4 elite choices. You can have up to quite a few actually.
6 in the battalion.
I think that
Six
the Relic Leviathan Dreadnought is by far the biggest example of the disconnect between Forge World and GW product. I swear to God, this should not exist. This is too strong. I don't like that.
Honestly, I had a game where it got like neutered turn 1 and did nothing.
Well, if you neuter it, right? But
Like Haywire will just go, oh look at that dreadnought.
Oh yeah, Skyweavers with Haywire cannons fucking delete that shit. Like,
Yep.
It's gone instantly.
Maris, I have an unrelated question. The learning streams are Monday and Tuesday, right?
the learning streams are on Monday and Tuesday. That's correct. Yes.
Okay, Okay, just because someone in the chat had some questions.
I think I'll pick him up and try and teach him some games, because I honestly think learning streams are cool, but the best way to learn, of course, is to just play small games, build up a bit.
Well, that's what the learning stream is like I grab two people who are completely new and we play a small game and we kind of watch them. Chat also helps with watching out that I'm giving the right rules so that we make sure that I'm not teaching people the wrong things, and they both tend to learn a lot and it works out really good. Let's go back here to group 24. Lucas, he's dominating pretty hard in this group. Let's see. Lucas.
Orcs.
More Orcs. More Orcs. Evil Sons this time. Big mechs with custom force fields. More boss boys. Commandos. Mech guns. This is like old school.
Something you would bring in 8th edition, to be honest, but
Yeah, but Mechans are still good in 9th. They still do exactly the same thing that they did in 8th edition.
It's a lot of smasher guns, Jesus.
Yeah, the
this-
only concern with playing Orcs is you give up so many points to bring it up. It's like if an automatic take against Orcs. It's just-
This is very much the you live by the mech guns, you die by the mech guns kind of deal here. But I mean, you still have plenty of boys. So
But hey, boys, got commandos.
yeah, weird boys.
Lots of
More boys.
He's got a lot of boys.
A lot of boys for
Got a
a.
main boy down there.
Yo, dude, what the fuck? He's got 30 boys, like 120 boys.
Ton of boys.
Dude, what the hell?
And a
Boys,
pain
boys,
boy.
boys,
And a
boys,
weird
boys,
boy. He's
boys,
probably
boys.
he's got the jump. He's got like.
Alpha Strike. Alpha Strike. Yes. Okay. Wow, lots of boys. All right. So that's working out for him. And then group 25, we've got Reliable Red #5804. Well, is that what he's
Respect
named?
this person for actually putting their Discord tag as their participant name so that people can find them.
That's very nice. But is he? Yeah. Oh, and even in here. Well, I guess you guys built that list. Sisters. Okay.
And Bloody Rose Sisters.
Bloody Rose.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah, I think this
Is
is the one with
it-
the insider info.
Uh-oh.
All right. He's got flagellants. Okay, whatever. Doesn't benefit. Canoness. Battle system. Scroll down.
Inquisitor.
Oh, yeah. There's 2 blocks of 9 Sister Repentia. There's an image of
Yep.
fire with Tail of the Warrior.
Oh my god, rhinos.
Seraphim. Lots of rhinos. Oh yeah, he's got the Repentia and the rhinos. He's got the Battle Sisters in the rhino. Yeah.
Why? Okay, I got two
It's a bit
questions
weird.
for this list.
This list is
Why the Celestian squad and why an 8 girl, or how many is that? 10 girl Seraphim squad, and you can take
Yeah.
double Inferno pistols even with a 5 for 100 points. Like,
I agree completely.
for 25 points more, you could double the Inferno pistol shots.
Especially with all the rhinos, he doesn't need the Celestines at all. There's no reason to run 1 squad of Seraphim when you can run 2 squads of 5-man Seraphim. You can tell it's just made to get the Sister Repentia in there alive and murder some shit.
Okay, what is...
Draw small 2130. I'm quite new. Why can't you take the same data sheet more than 3 times for missions?
If it's a troop choice or a dedicated transport, you can. And otherwise, they do the rule of 3, so that way you don't just spam, 10 dreadnoughts.
I think it's built into the detachment limits, isn't it?
Yes.
See, in 8th edition, there was this guy that ran, I think it was 6 Plagueburst crawlers in a GT and won, and then won like 4 other tournaments. And DW went, we can't have that.
Or it was like, what, 8 Hive Tyrants or something like that?
Oh, fly rents.
He's
You'd see
really
8 fly rents on the table.
recommended for ages, and then eventually people just started playing it as that.
He was asking why you could take more than 3, and it's because troops and dedicated transports are the exception. So that's why you would see Dark Eldar lists with 12 Venoms and 12 Cobalite Warrior squads with blasters to go in those Venoms. Because it was the exception.
Spot on. And it'll tell you right in your detachments when you're looking in the rule book exactly what you can actually bring in there. Yeah. Okay.
Also for off an error as well. And those errors are really important, and people see, a few people in Alpha seem to just ignore those error messages.
Oh yeah, those error messages are almost always right.
Yeah, shout out to the Battlescribe community for their hard work on bringing us these rosters in the Battlescribe. So very much appreciate what they do for us, because we are very heavily using Battleforge. I'm sorry, not Battleforge, Battlescribe. Yeah, they do such good work, and it's all like dedication and donating their free time to do it. Oh, very goodwill stuff. What else do we have? Oh, right. So now we can actually get away. We can step away from the list here.
I'm sorry, I do have to go. 7:15 is a hard cap for me. It was nice joining y'all, but have fun with the rest of the stream.
Thank you, Rolo. See you later. Thank you so much for joining us on the stream today.
No problem.
See you.
You guys, okay, so, and then we could do this really quickly because I think we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but we do have the subjects of mission objectives, terrains, and maps. How is that being influenced as we see all these matches being played?
I think our maps are doing pretty well. Like, I've not had anyone complain. That's the one thing I've not had DMs about going, this map was terrible for this reason, I just got shot off the board turn 1. I've not actually had any DMs that have said that. So I'm assuming that I've not actually played any. I've just not had the time to play any alpha games myself yet, which will be changing next week. But I've not had anyone say anything bad to me, horrendously bad about the maps. So I'm thinking they're fine.
That's a good indication.
Do message me, let me know so we can improve them, and feedback forums there for a reason. But other than that, I think the maps are good. That we have a good balance.
I think for the most part, it's been good. Mm-hmm. We've been able to see the really scrappy games, and it doesn't really. None of the maps I've seen so far seem to be very heavily skewed against anything. If anything, it's more of knights and big Titanic units that are impacted. But that's not so much the maps as it is the suggestions from GW on that part, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We, for the most part, did try to make sure knights could fit through as many gaps as possible, because we believe that those Titanic units should be able to move around the board relatively impeded. There might be a couple of tight spots or areas that you can't go into by design.
Yeah.
But you gotta make models playable with terrain. There's no point having a board of terrain where something just becomes unplayable, because that's not how the game is meant to be played at all. So you got to bear that in mind with map design a lot of the time. And I think we've done a pretty good job.
I think the only complaint that I really can talk about in terms of the maps is the collider, the collision mesh, the collision maps. Some of the maps still use really outdated, not outdated, but asset bundle assets, where you can't even.
The craters.
The craters, some of the buildings, kind of, from the pipe,
Craters are weird because I had a look at the crater model itself, and it's not actually got a box on it. You can't just remove the collider from it. It's actually hard coded into it.
Yeah, I know. I can't touch that thing.
It's a real pain. But if you and your opponent are in a game and you don't like the crater model, there's hundreds of crater models out there that you can use. Or failing that, if your models aren't going to fit, just draw a circle around it and delete it, and go, that's the crater area. That's fine. That's why talking to your opponent about terrain before the game is super important.
Yes.
In a competitive environment.
I agree with that.
I like most of the maps. There is like a one or two that I don't like that much, but overall they are good maps.
I think map selection has been on point, and aside from that, I think they're really fun. They're really fun to watch, and I think that a lot of people are having fun with them, and that's a great thing.
I think my favorite map is actually map. Oh, what is
Missions. Yeah.
Objectives, like, I haven't heard, like, I'm guessing we're talking, like, Alpha League Pacific here.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had anyone say, I couldn't get to this objective. This objective was too much out in the open, or anything like that. And we're two weeks in now, and people will complain. It's one of the things people do love to do, and rightly so. You know, you're running an event, you're expected to deal with these kind of things. But again, I've had like no DMs like in regard to, you know, objectives being unfairly positioned or anything like that. We understand that some of them do place on terrain, and that's why it's in the primer. That's fine as long as it's at ground level. You know, which goes against GW's like ruling that you have to move the terrain piece if an objective marker falls on it, because that's kind of silly in our view.
Yeah.
Like, because you can just move the terrain for advantage at that point, you know. So, and it can cause arguments. So that's kind of why we ruled it that way. Again, we didn't want to do mission-specific maps either, because that can lead to like list tailoring. So that was something that we really tried to avoid, that quite a few TTS tournaments are using. But I feel that if you know the map and the mission, like exactly, you remove that element of randomness completely, and you can just go, oh, I'm playing on this map, so this list will be beneficial on this map. I've even seen players in finals of tournaments on TTS going, I brought this list because of the map.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to actually happen there. Jesus Christ, man, lots of games are being played. Just noticed that. But no, like, yeah, it seems like they're interfacing just fine in this kind of this league environment, and outside of that, I there hasn't really been any situations on the stuff that we've seen, or me personally, that would cause any problems. I think they're, in terms of what the secondary objectives are, and how they're playing out, I am enjoying them very thoroughly. I'm enjoying the type of games that are being played. It's a fun thing to watch. It's not just about tabling. Thank God we're out of that. We're out. We're being able to enjoy games from turn 1 all the way to turn 5. It's great.
It's really healthy. It's really healthy for competitive play where you can't, as you were saying, just blow your opponent off the board and win.
Yes.
Like, the game was... It's a war game. It's not a roll dice and I have better shooting game.
Exactly.
Which is what a lot of 8th edition kind of felt like. There was still a bit of strategy involved, but the strategy is a lot more intense, like with the secondary selection and the primary as well now, which is really good.
I'm gonna give the mic here to either Aladaris or Joko if you guys wanted to. I know you guys are kind of getting exhausted. I think everybody.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit exhausted, but for secondaries, I only have like few problems with them. Like there is no good secondaries to take against like Marines most of the time, because we would need like some kind of gangbuster like secondary that can actually deal with the likes of them. Like, so the aggressor and eradicator spam actually has some drawbacks, because you can actually take some secondaries against them. Yeah, but that's not the leader's fault. I like most of the maps, as I already said. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Aladaris? I want to just put the...
Yeah, so in terms of the shift towards objectives, I do like it. I think it makes things much more interesting in how you have to maneuver around the board. But I do not like the complete removal of the kill primaries. The kill primaries are basically removed from the secondaries and adopted into them. I think there should be some representation for that, because right now killing is actually almost completely irrelevant outside of blowing things off of objectives. So this might just be like the intended design to make killing feel less important. But definitely right now, armies that want to kill, just there's no real point in playing them compared to armies that can actually run around the board and capture objectives. So It's something I would like to see. Maybe just not 2 points as primaries, but like 1 point is like you kill more than your opponent, you get 5 extra points. So that's something I would like to see. Otherwise, I think the maps have been pretty good. There's a tad bit too much dense terrain, I think, in some maps, but overall it's fine, and have been enjoying a couple of games tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what you're saying there, but I don't know. I don't think that there needs to be too much representation. Like the only representation that you would need, in my opinion, for killing is kill things that are on objectives. But you know, that yeah, I think it's still a valid point on either sides there. And lastly, I did want to talk about and I think Arover wants to talk about this too. This is more on to Alpha League and dropping from Alpha League.
Yeah, so I've had a few people message me this week. I've been trying to get back to them as best I can because they're saying this person's dropping or this person's dropping. First of all, guys, I can't hear this third party from your group. You have to come to me directly and say I want to drop, and don't feel bad about it if you've got life issues or something like that. You know, these things happen, and they're going to take a part, and you might have to leave the tournament. But come to me yourself. I don't want to hear it third party for one thing, and then I can discuss it with you. And if I hear it third party, nothing's going to happen because I don't have the time to right now to find you and talk to you about it. So come and speak to me about it. In the instance where you are dropping, it's assessed on a case-by-case basis as to what will happen for next season, as to whether it would be you wouldn't be able to play next season due to dropping. And that's something for me to decide based upon the circumstances as well, and that will be assessed. It's not just an automatic case of you will not be taking part in the next season. And the other thing as well that people seem a bit confused by is I'm really busy this week. I have to drop from Alpha League. You have 5 weeks to play 5 matches.
That's a lot of time.
You know? Yeah, so don't think just me, myself personally, I've been super busy the past 2 weeks of work. I've not had time to play a single game of 40K, but my work schedule is relaxing now, and I do, and I've got 3 weeks to play the games, and that's absolutely fine. You know, so don't feel pressured into having to play all your games in 1 week right at the start. You've got that 5-week period to play them, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to sort of clarify a few things in regards to dropping.
No, that's absolutely reasonable, and you bring in some really good points there. If you're dropping from Alpha League, come to Arover directly and let him know. And if you're scared that you're not going to have the time needed to play your games, don't worry. You have a whole 5 weeks to play these games. So, try to get that. You coordinate with your opponents. Take the channels alpha scheduling to your advantage, and get those games played. It's just 4, maybe 5 hours of your what is it, 15 hours, around 15 hours in a 5-week period. That should be very doable.
10 hours if you make your opponent use chess clock every game.
Oh yeah, that's true. You could be using chess clocks as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I don't know if you guys, Aladaris or Joko, want to add on to that. I think
that basically covers it so far. Right?
Yeah. So I want to. That's Alpha League Day. Okay, so that's the podcast for today. Then I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here.
Maybe I'll chat some questions.
Oh, does chat have questions? You guys want to drop some questions here? We'll wrap this up in maybe 5 minutes here. Alpha League. It's been nice. I like it. Having a lot of fun with the casting of it, and I think a lot of people are enjoying watching it. People are enjoying it, playing it. I think we're going to be pioneering some things as well.
Yeah, I also quite enjoyed the few games I managed to cast with you guys, and these podcasts are really nice.
I was worried about maybe the podcast not being very interesting, but I watched the podcast back and it's not cringy, so that's a good indication. I'm my harshest critic. Just started watching. When is the next match being streamed? That'll be tomorrow. We're just doing Alpha League podcast. We're just going over Alpha League with our casters, or not casters, but our crew here. Just curious how the meta is for Warhammer 40k since I'm new. How diverse is it? I would say it's pretty diverse. Would you guys agree with that?
I would.
Right now, yeah, definitely.
The most diverse. Sorry.
There is no real meta right now. People are still figuring stuff out. Like, it's very early days, and especially with like lockdown as well, has meant there's like a lack of like GTs as well, so you can't really gauge like many results of what's sort of like shaping it right now. So it's a really interesting time to be playing competitive 40k.
We're seeing a lot of different things work out, and the fact that there's so many different things that are doing okay and exceeding exceptions, I think it's a very diverse meta. But of course, as a Rover pointed out, we just got into this thing, and then of course there's going to be codex. This is a fresh edition. Codexes have not even been dropped yet. That's going to really influence what's going to happen in the meta. Love the podcast, guys. Really enjoy the breakdown on the alpha play. Well, thank you. I think Aladaris and Rover, Joko, and Jesus Christ, I'm forgetting his name. Priablo, yeah. I think they have spot on analysis and are quite. I just commentate on what I seen in the alpha games that we stream. So these guys actually go into the stat lines to figure it out. Let's see. Man, I hope they don't take forever to come out. Yeah, they what's coming up? Space Marines? Necrons?
Necrons first.
Necrons first.
Other than that, to be announced, I think at this stage. I think, right, so Necrons desperately need a new codex, like the worst, like next to GSC right now. Space Marines desperately need a new codex to make them more balanced.
I hope for the nerfs. I hope for the nerfs.
That's kind of why those two are coming out first. And I think, I realistically think it will follow a similar order to 8th edition. So we'll probably see Death Guard, like, after that, I think. That's just me speculating and complete rumor on my part. But if they were to follow, like, the same order, it would be Death Guard after that.
Yeah, I think that we're getting prepped for some new units, getting prepped for a lot of new stuff. It's going to be interesting, exciting even, seeing what GW drops on us next there. But yeah, I think that there could be some slight nerfs for Space Marines, but I think what we're going to see instead are buffs. So I don't know. But I'll tell you what I do like seeing more nerfs to Eldar.
No!
Yeah.
Please don't.
You know the Eldar Nav Edition Codex is going to be broken because it has been for the past like 4 editions, right?
We need to stop that.
I hope. I can hope.
Death to the
thing is with Eldar is they have so many units that do so much stuff that like some of them are just going to be good by proxy. Like that's literally what's happened. Like the last 2 editions. Like in 8th Ed it was the Wraith Knight and Wing Riders, and then this edition it was like Crimson Hunter, Exarch, Shining Spears, and Dark Reapers. Like that's just gonna happen. Like because there's just such a vast variety of units out there. Something's just gonna be ridiculous.
I hope.
Is anybody actually playing? I wonder if anybody's actually playing Warhammer 40k on TTS. This might be that. Well, I think we are going to go ahead here, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time as always.
Every Friday after my stream or something like that.
Mouse, please.
So good. Yeah, I keep seeing like nobody's
Great to be
spoilering
here.
anything.
I'll
You guys have
be here
been
next
really
week.
good about it. But I keep seeing everyone in
It's
chat
awesome.
kind of
I'm
like
absolutely
alluding
exhausted
to.
though, so I'm gonna go to bed and sleep for like my 3 days off. Now I need to play some games, so I need to actually remember how to play my army right now, which is really odd. So I actually need to do like a practice game with my army before I play an alpha game.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna go to sleep, so see you guys.
All right, thanks everyone for hopping on, and have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you are.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good one too. Thanks. And we will be rating someone who's playing Tabletop Simulator. I think I see someone here. Yep. Go ahead. We're gonna get that raid. Shadow Legends.
I will see you guys.
They're playing. I think it might be either. I think it's Warhammer 40k. That. So, you guys want to show this person some love and watch some Warhammer 40k? Here we go. Hey. I hope that's an English player. I really do. If not, oh god. Oh.
Te lo dejo ahí, claro. A ver. La pregunta del millón es: ¿quién me molesta más? ¿O qué me molesta más? A ver. Por acá. Vamos a 19.
Oh god.